Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. I'm also running a GoFundMe campaign, so hopefully there'll be a link for that. Hopefully one of the mods will put that in the info box or in the live stream chat if you are watching this on a premiering stream. But speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Rod, Twaltwazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, John Travolta, JMails24, Unimento, M Iron26, Endless, Goldie McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fibre Oats, Bogey, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealons, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes 100%.
So it's always good to like fall back on God's word and just really cling really closely to what God says verbatim, right? Of course, there's expounding and stuff like that, right? But that's because you have a lot of context. You know what I mean? You're like, but you still have to be able to show people through His word this stuff too. If you can't show it, then they can't stand on it. Anyways, we see Nathan is here, and I wanted to say something to Nathan. Hey, Nathan.
Hello.
Are you busy?
I'm leveling you up, but it's quite handy to be talking to you to do that.
Hey, you guys,
Alright.
you like my new name?
Huh?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm in the kitchen. But
My name is
Yeah.
Flat Earther with a gun.
all
Very
right.
good.
And I was thinking about something. I was thinking, you know, even you guys said this about getting the Discord side more active. Do you agree or not?
I don't believe I've ever said that, no.
Well,
Well,
Nathan
people
doesn't
in-
even look at it. He doesn't even look at Discord.
Well, people in
I'm looking at it right
I
now.
even heard.
Stay
I
out of
even
it.
heard.
Hold on,
He
you got-
always
You
Text
bring
the post
Discord
and
in
post
first
it.
all the time.
Well, hold on a second. Because I was thinking about something, and I was thinking about this for a while. Now, I'm not saying to tell you how to run your show and whatnot. So I'm just like, this is just a suggestion, right? But I was thinking maybe we could try ditching Hangouts and having everybody on Discord, and see if that will get like more
No.
activity out of Discord.
You need two panels. That was the whole purpose of it. Tell him, Nathan.
I don't understand what you're asking for. What are you asking for?
Basically, dropping G plus and having everybody on Discord, like Huey has everybody on Discord.
Okay. Why?
Is Skype necessary?
What difference does it make?
Well, first of all, it'll be more like connected. Like right now, we have a moderator taking things from Skype and posting it in Discord and vice versa, right? We got to post things from Discord to Skype, and then it seems like people on the panel. How do I put it? There's like a disconnect between people on the panel and people in Discord, and sometimes people even come into the Discord and they're like confused what's going on. There's like multiple voices coming out of Nathan's channel, and so on and so forth. So there's
Yeah.
also the intuitive side of it.
Yeah, Nathan
So-
has one audio feed with multiple people.
So it almost seems like this disconnect is like felt in the Discord side, and a lot of people just end up being, you know what I mean, just more listeners than like feeling like they're participators. There's like more of a disconnect. Does that make sense?
No. They can
No,
jump
but
in.
Neil. Thanks. Yeah, I need to keep it that way, unfortunately. In the same way I need redundancy with Skype. So while this is going via one line to mix two different channels, I can also introduce Anthony if he was out and about on a phone call. In other words, I've got multiple different lines with multiple different things running. Now, the reason I have it that way is because if Skype goes down, I can use G+. If G+ goes down, I can use Discord. So I always want the redundancy in place for every show. So when I start the show, if Discord completely fails. Can you mute, please? Fresh grown flowers. If Discord fails, then I can still have a show. Yeah. If I just solely rely on Discord, no, that's definitely never going to happen. Sorry.
All right, I thought about that too. I realized you were going to use that one too. But you could still switch, you know what I mean? But maybe you think it's easier to switch back and forth if one goes down if both are operational. All right.
Yeah, I mean, if Discord was 100% reliable and I never gave it a second thought, then maybe I'd never have a need to use it. But by the same token, I'd still want to have the redundancy there. In other words, I can't remember the last time I actually used Skype, but and by that I mean actually broadcast it to the public. I haven't used it. I mean, yes, I do use it daily, but I mean, for the purposes of somebody who's listening, they're unaware that Skype is even involved, is what I mean. But at a pinch, I can run the entire show from Skype if I need to.
Yeah.
And that's important. So I set it up every morning in that way so that I can use it at a pinch should it come to it.
All right.
Can
Well,
I
I was just
speak
putting
now?
it out there.
No, I understand. Well, I'm glad you've got that attitude, and I'd rather you keep asking those sorts of questions because your Discord, right? Your primary purpose is to keep the Discord running as at the highest. The ideal would be that the peanut gallery was G+, right? Like it was in the old days. That was the link I gave out. I gave out the G+ link, so that became the peanut gallery, right? And then Skype was the main sort of panel.
So you have a Google Hangout playing simultaneously?
One more time. You're a bit quiet.
I said you have a Google Hangout conversation simultaneously. That's where you get your feed from 10th Man from?
Yeah.
I know what righteous is saying though, because if everybody was running through Discord, it would be less like, because a lot of times people are just talking over each other. I don't hear anybody coming in from Discord when you start speaking, and then everybody's colliding in conversation.
Well, that's going to happen no matter what.
Exactly. The more ability to split the lines out into separate channels, the more control I've got over the show. So if suddenly while Neil's making a point, Gene just starts talking, I can just remove Discord from the conversation, and that removes Gene temporarily from talking over Neil. Yeah? But I've got to be able to retain that control. If everyone's just in Discord, then what control have I got? If Neil starts talking over Gene, then I can't really do much about it other than going in and physically moderating him in the server and muting him, right? Well, I don't want to do that.
Anywho,
Okay,
any
cool.
video lined up?
No, but it's nice that we get to talk about it, you know. I mean, it's not often I get to talk about the bit that I actually... It's the most challenging part of the show, but it's the bit that, so long as I do it well, everybody's completely unaware of that sort of stuff. Now, I'm glad you're talking about it in the pre-show. I'd hate to be discussing this in the live show. It's terrible, but in the pre-show, fine. Yeah, that's the bit that I do, right? Yes, you just hear me talking, and most people who are watching the show are unaware that I'm, as Neil puts it, pushing buttons. Well, I am. You know, that is the most literal, you know, to keep it looking nice and keep everything transitioning and looking beautiful and keep everyone's levels the same and all that sort of stuff. That's what I do, right, behind the scenes.
Maybe the
Hey,
premium
that was
version
that
of
was
Discord
10th
do
Man,
that.
not me. He's the pushing buttons guy, but I jumped on it.
Sure, but I mean, you know, I can, if I can actually bring up some of the stuff, I can.
You're bringing up my name again.
Well, he blamed. He said I came up with the Nathan's just pushing buttons. That
No,
was
that
you.
was me. That was me.
Oh,
That was
it's
me,
not-
but that was me in a good way.
It's true, yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's true. So, you know, I'm just trying to look down at my desk and show. If I can just bring this up. I don't think there's anything that shouldn't be on screen. Let's just fade across that. So that's one of my screens, albeit with me in the corner. But yeah, you know, there's, for the audience, not you. You can see I've got over here. This is my panel. This is G+. Then there's the chat. Can you see that? That's covered up on the stream in case I need to show it. Down here, there's one of the two monitors. This is the Discord server, and this is Skype. You know, all set up, ready to rock and roll. Let's just come out of that, and then I'll find the other screen if I can find it in my... Not often I use this. TV screen. That doesn't want to seem to show it.
Hey Nathan,
Yes,
why
yes.
don't why don't you ever do your screen, like whatever you're looking at? Like you could go obviously to YouTube to watch all the different presentations and stuff, but why don't you like ever stream it on like where we could click on you, like where you would put share screen through Discord? It's
Because I
always
don't want
like
you
I would
to.
have. Yeah, because I always have to go to YouTube to see the whole demonstration, but then it's like a time delay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's intentional. So what that gives me is a buffer. You know, make people like, oh, what? So you need a little buffer between you and... Yeah, I do. Let me just show this. I just want to show this one more thing before I carry on this conversation. So this is the other screen. Now, the other screen is oriented vertically. So I don't know if it'll let me do this. Yeah, it will. So as I slide down this, I've got my Patreons, my video that rolls in the background that you see, another chat, obviously the desk itself. What's this called?
Showing
OBS.
videos through Discord?
Hold on, I'm nearly there. And a load of monitoring software. So right at the bottom, you can see down here. Oop, too far. All of this down here is monitoring, and that's it. So I just wanted to show the audience that there's a lot that goes into it. I've got 2 4K monitors set to a reasonably, small pixel density or whatever, so I can cram a lot of software on at once and look at all of it. Anyway, that was it.
Yeah, Gene, you're not the audience. You're on the panel. Even though it's the peanut gallery, you're still on the panel.
No, I think Nathan was talking as if we could see him. Are you showing video through Discord?
I'm showing the
No,
audience.
he said he's talking to the audience.
The audience.
What audience?
There is an audience.
They're not here
He's
yet.
already
They're, at
streaming
this
on
point
YouTube?
in time, Gene, they are actually imaginary. They don't actually exist. So while
Oh,
as
so you were
live,
saying here.
I'm
you
going to
were
be
saying
showing
here.
yeah, trying to explain something to you. 2 people talking. This is why I need to control lines. If Neil starts laughing through the top of me, I can shut him up.
But that's funny.
Anyway. Yeah, as live to the audience, I'm showing them what's on my screen. So I've set up OBS so I can, if need be, just show the entirety of my screen. But if I do, on one screen, you see chat, a live stream feed, monitoring the live stream, the actual G+ Hangout, you guys in Discord, and Skype. In other words, everything that could potentially go onto the audience, I have on one screen. And then the one I just showed the audience a minute ago, again, you couldn't see it, was all the stuff that you can't see. So my Patreons, admittedly another live stream feed that is on a different tab to the Patreons. That's the only thing I can't fit on. I have to have that's the only page I've got duplicates of stuff on. But yeah, 2 live stream feeds, and then OBS and a desk. Nearly got to the end of the list. I couldn't quite. It's so much stuff I can't get to the end of the list before Neil's interrupted me.
Thought you were stopping. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I nearly did. It was just a list of software, but I was nearly at the end of the list. But there we go, Neil. It's all good now. It's not that important. Nobody cares. The point was that so long as nobody gets to see all that stuff and even have an awareness that it even exists, they just see, oh, somebody's talking about something, and now it's on screen. Well, it's not as simple as if you just post it in Discord and then start talking about it because you're aware that I've immediately got it on screen. Well, I haven't. I'm running a show, shockingly. So your immediate attention to the administration that you've got isn't of high priority to me. But it is to you, and I understand that. I'm empathetic to the fact that you want your information looked at quickly. So I need to put a little buffer between you going, have you got this yet? And me going, no. And you understanding that I'm not going to look at it immediately. And then there being a slight lapse of time between you wanting me to look at it and it being presentable because somebody's put it into a medium that I like on a screen format that I've got ready to present. That's Skype. Yeah? So because of all that, that takes, let's say, a minute. Enough time for me to press a few buttons, prompt the screen, get it in a preview queue screen, so when you start talking about it, I press a button and nobody's any the wiser. But what happens is you start talking about the thing you want to talk about and the audience see it, and they don't give it a second thought. But that takes me having to have thought about, how can I delay the guy who goes, well, it's in Discord, are you looking at it? No, I'm running a fucking show, you stupid idiot. Do you want me to say that during the live broadcast? I'm not talking to you, but I'm talking to some unreasonable wanker that immediately expects me to look at something they've posted 25 seconds ago and then sat with their legs crossed while I monitor 25 different pages. Make sense?
Hey, Tent Man,
That's
it
the
sounds like
exact
he's trying
question
to.
we had.
Sounds like he sounds like he's trying to justify pushing buttons. We know you do a lot of work, Nathan. We appreciate you.
Takes about 30 minutes on average just to get to the point where I can start and press record and do the intro. About 30 minutes. Today, for some unknown reason, the mic line for me in sound, which is something that I change every single day but never mess with the recording side of ever, had gone down to 25% from 100%. So it just, as far as I'm concerned, it's just not working. So after 2 restarts, messing with the audio input device, messing with the sound controls, messing with which recording input was being selected on the desk, that took about 20 minutes. Now, I started early because my brand new washing machine has broken and flooded the kitchen over the weekend, so I've got an engineer coming out. I just don't know when, so I wanted to start early. Glad I did, because there was about, like I say, about 20 minutes of messing around just to get the mic level back to where it was. And by the time you've fiddled with 100 different things to try and get it to work, you've then got to put them all back again. Right? Hopefully I've done that correctly, otherwise I'll be all distorted on this recording. But that's the one thing I haven't done. I haven't actually monitored myself, which I should really do now. So
Did you say your brand new washing machine broke? Your brand new one?
Yeah, the one I got 2 weeks ago. My wife put it on.
Oh my God.
It's a great washing machine. It tells you when it needs cleaning, so it says you need to do a drum wash. It's more like, oh, that's so cool, right? It weighs the washing and reduces the cycle. It's a great washing machine, right? Anyway, we came in after my wife had been watching Stranger Things on Netflix, and I went in and was like, oh, the kitchen's covered in water. I went, Paula, you might need to turn the water off. She comes in, she goes, oh, whoa, there's still foam in the drum, and fortunately it wasn't dirty washing water, it was just a drum clean, so it was just relatively clean water everywhere. But yeah, it flooded the kitchen, so this morning, the moment the shop up the road, which is literally the closest shop to us, I walked up and I was like, yeah, the washing machine has dumped water all over the kitchen. And they were very apologetic, and they said they'd get an engineer out Wednesday and they're going to come and have a look today, hence me starting early. Not that anybody needed to know this. But this is actually a good excuse to e-beg. So that's the reason I've actually, typically, the people of Patreon, my good patrons who I shout at daily, support me enough so I can sort out stupid things like repairs. But in this instance, it got to the point with my amps where I bought so much crap because everything keeps breaking that I got to a point where something in the show broke and I'd run out of money. So it's like, what am I going to do? I can't even afford to get this amp fixed. So I'm like, do a GoFundMe to get the replacements. It's been like the least successful GoFundMe campaign I've ever done. But like anybody, nobody wants to actually put their hand out. And typically for stuff like amp repairs, I wouldn't suggest a GoFundMe to get replacements, because I'd just get the repair done because I could afford to do it. But in this instance, I just haven't been able to. I've completely run out of money, which isn't normal for any normal person. But for me, that means, unfortunately, doing GoFundMe campaigns when it affects the show, which in the case of an amplifier breaking, it does directly affect the show. So hence the GoFundMe campaign. My opportunity to plug the GoFundMe. please support me on GoFundMe. Anyway, sorry, Gene, what were you going to say? I've been waffling for ages.
Oh, same situation here. New washing machine broke. Text coming out on Wednesday, and I bought the extended warranty on it, and they said the water pump went out, valve basically got cold, and the water expands and it busts a sensor. So that's one way to fuck up your warranty. And then the thing is, he says, hey, you have your washing machine outside, that automatically voids your warranty. He's like, I'm not gonna be a dickhole about it, but next time, someone won't be as kind. Have this machine inside, because it's a warranty violation to have your. We have a little room outside, but of course it gets cold in there, and where the dog sleeps, and that's actually voids your warranty. I don't know that. And the next day, the same thing happened. It busts again, and the warranty's gonna cover it, but
Wow, you're lucky they're covering it, because that's a scam. Any extended warranty is a bunch of bull. I went through that.
No, they came out and serviced it. But
You're lucky.
and it's the same part we've replaced 3 times.
Right.
And it's all because we have it
Just
outside.
just as something you can do, you can buy this stuff. It's heat trace, and you just wrap it around that part and plug it in, and you can buy it in predetermined lengths, and it comes with a little a potentiometer on it that tells you, like, it'll kick it on at certain temperatures to keep it from freezing and busting.
And it'll
Nathan, you
wrap
made
around
me
like a little
wise to that.
valve part.
It's called heat trace.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, it's you. Hang on. It's the same thing you do with the water pipes sticking out of the ground. You put the foam around it, tape on it, so it doesn't freeze.
Yeah, I just Googled it now. It's foreign to us, though. I live in Texas. We don't have this problem.
Hey, I did a floor one time in Alabama. They disconnected their washing machine. Right? I did the floor. They put the washing machine back, but they never hooked the hose back up that drains the water outside or wherever it goes after doing the wash. So they started a load and went to church and came back to a swimming pool. The floor stood down though.
That's pretty good that you can buy a washer and have a swimming pool and a washing machine at the same time.
I couldn't believe it, man. See, I don't see down south. When I first came down here, this was years ago. We never deal with that up north. If you want your floor, they disconnect the refrigerator, whatever's got to come out, they do it. When I came here, they expected me to do it. I don't know how to unhook a washing machine. I don't know how to take off a toilet bowl. So they got somebody in, he took it out, and I guess he didn't know how to do it either because he never hooked it back up.
How can you call yourself a man if you can't do that?
Back then, I couldn't do it, but after living in Alabama for 2 years, I had to figure it out. You know, I had to start doing it because they would pay you. I didn't know they'd pay you $50 extra to disconnect the toilet bowl and get the cuts right up to the what do you call that? Where the wax goes, the wax ring
Wax
goes.
seal. Wax seal.
Yeah, right. So
Well, they don't do wax anymore.
That.
Wax is a thing of the past now.
What did they do? This was 10 years ago, 12 years ago. That's when I was doing it. So
They still use wax. I just did a replacement toilet.
I've never seen it. Now they use that I think Fluid Master, that brand. Yeah, they went straight to the blue seal. It's a blue plastic seal that tightens with pressure.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't see that one, but they're still selling the wax. If they're selling that, might be an addition. Nathan, do you have a video today?
I was just showing up the one that you posted actually called "What If the Universe Was Math."
Want to keep it flat earthy. To keep it flat earthy, my brother was saying, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just making sure Nathan saw there was something there. I got to head out early today. Just wanted to make sure he had something.
Which one do you got there?
Yeah, it's by PBS Space Time.
What if the universe is math? ?
How old is it?
1 month.
Perfect. Anywho, I had a question about my brother was asking about what do you call perception is reality, or what do you call, like, if 99% of the population agrees that the world is a globe, like, we should operate as a globe. Like, yeah, I understand that.
That's called a consensus reality.
Consensus reality.
The problem with all this is that when you look into how they got their globe, they need a flat Earth angle measurements.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of consensus in this too, isn't there, Tanner?
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to realize the quickest way to destroy that argument is to say, how did you get your globe? And then they're going to try to, differentiate flat Earth from globe. And then you say, well, great, how come then the nautical almanac says that all the measurements to the stars are from the equatorial plane. Shouldn't it be from a globe surface if it's a globe?
That makes
I
sense
think
to me.
upside down Australian in here is a globe believer. You should ask him. I think he likes defending it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a friendly conversation. It doesn't need to get heated. All he's got to do is go research where the vertex is for the measurement for celestial navigation. It's always the center of the earth. All the nautical almanacs are predetermined from the center, as if the observer is at the center of the earth. Well, then I could be anywhere taking the measurement. I could be on top of a Ferris wheel. And I could say the earth is a Ferris wheel. But really, when I go to the measurements, they're from the center of the earth.
Well, he's
Also, I
here.
want to
Let
say,
him come
Tim,
on.
I wanted to say, just like we say about Neil deGrasse Tyson, who challenges him? You know, even in a public square, we're both having a sandwich at, a sandwich place. Even me walking up to him, challenging him on a topic is looked at as blasphemous because I don't have a tie on, just because he's known, the appeal to authority is already in his favor.
Go to the dollar store and get a tie on.
Hold on. Who was the guy that who was talking before you, Gene? He said somebody's in Discord that can explain it. I want to hear it.
Yeah, the upside down Australian, he's definitely globe believer. I don't know why he's not speaking.
Fresh grown is a pedo loving piece of shit, bro, right? And he's trying to bullshit and say I believe in the globe because he's too scared to come onto another fucking Discord. So he's asked me to come in here and say, oh, speak. And then he's trying to give me an intro by saying I believe in the globe, bro. No, it's got nothing to do with the globe. I didn't even want to come in here to derail the fucking conversation. Like, he's asked me to come in here.
Well, now you have.
So take it easy. Take it easy.
A bit less
If you're not a
hostility.
globe believer.
Number one, please try not to swear, especially when we go live.
I try, but this part of my language, so it's hard. But I'll try.
I understand. Thank you. So, is hustled you into being here because of what?
Because he admitted to loving pedophiles. So he was on another server today where he hid behind the mute button, specifically Rose Patton and her server, and that was it. And then I invited him to another server where he can come and defend his love for pedophiles, but he specifically asked me to come in here. And I've already told him in the chat, I'm not going to come in and just derail the conversation. But he persisted just then and said, Upside Down believes in a globe.
Would it be possible to not reference paedophiles any further?
Sure, that's why I didn't come in here. But he said, oh, I'm scared unless I come in here. So I came in here. That's it.
Yeah, that sounds like you have a different topic at a different show. This is about physics and nature of Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I didn't want to come in here and derail it. That's what I said to him. But he specifically tried to lie and said, oh, I believe it's a globe, which I don't. So.
How do you not?
Okay.
What do you believe, just out of interest?
No, I don't believe in anything because I think believe is accept something as true without proof. So I don't really believe in anything.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Do we have a Slick James on the panel?
No. Let me ask you.
Hold on. This isn't done with. From one side, fresh grown flowers. Is that a reasonable account of what's going on?
Yeah, we were in VC the other.
Oh, you cut off. We lost you.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I had a phone call come in. We were in a VC the other day, just randomly. It was like after the after show, and it was Righteous Force, Upside Down Australian. I don't even know who else was in the room, and there was a conversation going on, and he was ranting and raving about the P word, and something about wanting to like kill him or something. I don't know. It's just going off, and there was a reference that was made in scripture about loving your neighbor, and he was like, "Oh, so that means you love pedophiles too, right?" And I was like, "Well, if I'm gonna do what the book says, then yeah, that means pedophiles too, so I have to love them also." And he just spiraled, and here we are. So he's been in like other Discord servers playing recordings that he's been taking of myself and Righteous and other people without telling them that he's doing this, and he's just running on a weird little shit show for attention, it sounds like. It's kind of odd.
But you have kind of enticed him here for that purpose though, right? by the sounds of
No,
it.
I haven't enticed him in any way or anything like that. He's just on his little rant. I don't know what's going
So
on.
you didn't ask me to come in here. You didn't ask me to come in. You didn't say I'm in VC with Righteous right now. And then I came here and then I didn't join and said I'm not going. I said you're hiding behind someone else's conversation and you're
Yo,
asking
who
me to
cares
come in and
about these two
derail it.
clowns, man?
No, I'm just
Yeah.
interested in the beef. It's pre-show. The guy's entitled to his
Yeah,
opinion.
exactly. Yeah, and so for the record, like I haven't been in multiple servers saying I have recordings. We were in one server today, and I told him that he did say this, and it had nothing to do with loving your neighbor. He specifically said, "Yes, I love pedophile." He said it twice today. I love P word.
Okay.
So that's
he did
completely different. Thank you.
He did contextualize it though, pretty reasonably so.
Yeah, 100%. I walk in according to scripture, and I love my neighbor. And unfortunately, some of my neighbors are pedophiles. Do I condone their actions? No, not at all. But am I
You
trying
love
to
the
walk
neighbor,
down my
hate
belief
There you go.
system? Then 100%, yeah.
There you go. That seems reasonable.
I mean,
Hopefully-
that's, and he's on like a Discord rant to try to I don't know. He thinks there's like some celebrity or something to people's names on Discord, and he thinks that he's gonna get. He said like, you're done. You're there. You're wanted. You're a wanted man now on Discord. I don't know. He's just.
When did I say all that? I said
He's
no.
on a
When did I say all
website.
that? When
You
did
said
I
that
say all
last
that?
night.
I told you to
Last
come
night.
into another. I said to come into the other servers and say that same thing. Here you're hiding behind this. That's where you won't come to any other server. Like that's
and
why I sent you a
again,
link. And you
again, you're
specifically
going
asked me
in
to come here.
Okay.
You asked me to come here.
We got all that. We got
Why
all that.
ask me to come here?
Okay, guys, thank you.
Exactly.
So, okay, but for what? I understand that we've got the context of this. We're going to say P word, so I don't hopefully get the video demonetized. But yeah, that bit's been cleared up, hopefully. But what was the original beef? Is there no discussion that's useful for us on the forum here? Or is it just this little spat about a misinterpretation of the love thy neighbour idea?
Again, he asked me to come in here. I didn't want to talk about it here because you weren't talking about that. So if I send a message, right, and show you the messages, I say, I'm not going to come in there and derail the conversation. And that's what he was doing, hiding behind the fact that if I do come in here and talk about it, it's me derailing the conversation. That's why he didn't say, oh, by the way, guys, Upside Down has a problem with me about something I said before. He specifically lied and said, oh, Upside Down's a glober. Ask him to explain it.
That is kind of odd.
Thank you.
Get a room.
Because I don't argue for the globe. That's ridiculous.
Fair enough.
It don't seem like anybody really argues for it anymore.
Yeah. There was a slight glimmer that there might have been a spat about the globe in there, but there wasn't in that. But there we go. But we're beyond that, eh? We're not really ever having to debate any new arguments for the globe because they're all old and tatty. What we do discover is more and more ways of proving Earth is flat and making it more concise. That's about it.
Agreed.
How many black swans are we up to now?
You only need one, but there's loads.
We should
Every
make a
time-
greatest hits black swan.
Every time you see the horizon, which is Earth curve to them, and it's beyond its limitation based on the observer's height, which is based on their R value, it's a black swan. Every time.
Yeah, Heath Carmody's made a Swanalizer tool, and he's on to like version 1.53 or something like that. And great, you can compare where the globe Earth says the horizon's going to be as Earth curve and where the flat Earth would be based on pure perspective. And you can compare the two. Very useful. However, every measurement to the geometric horizon has to be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, because that's its geometric physical limitation. As soon as it's beyond that, that's it, it's game over. You can no longer acquire the geometry then. The geometry breaks. You go, okay, it's foggy. You know, we're not going to see the hill in the way. If you're trying to measure the edge of a hill that's blocking your view of a church behind it, let's just say, and you go, well, I can't see anything. There's just fog. You know, okay, well, that's reasonable. Yeah, so the geometric limitation's not beyond its limitations, But if you go out the following day and you go, right, let's have a look how much this hill's blocking the church by. Oh, what do you know? The hill's behind the church. Yeah, that never happens. You know, the hill doesn't move from its physical obstruction point if they're claiming that you can measure its geometry.
Well, back to what I said earlier. Let them say whatever they want about the globe and say, so you think we live on the globe. So when you measure to know where you are on the globe using the celestials, where is the vertex? If it's on a globe, it has to be from the surface of the globe. But when they say, well, all the measurements are from the equatorial plane, then they're using a flat plane or an Earth that is a plane to get their angles.
Yeah, and on what Nathan was saying though, the horizon, even if it did render at 1.22 times the observer's height in feet, it would still be below sea level. So even if you've seen the horizon at a distance that their maths would predict, it's not the same horizon that they're talking about.
I think you're striking a chord, John.
Right, like the apparent position.
Good one.
The apparent position where the sky meets the sea, you know? Like that, they don't have that. Their sea level and their horizon are, you know, not connected.
I was reading this thing, I think 10th Man posted it, where it said that the moon is responsible for all the weather that we have. It's gravitational tug on Earth. Amazing.
You know, if Earth wasn't a sphere, we'd all have different bone densities and be more susceptible to bone cancer.
Oh, yeah, that too. That's right. That's funny.
On what 10th is saying, I've been going deeper into like celestial navigation videos, and I'm finding that as well. It's ridiculous, and I've never really went on that. I always just watched 10th's like presentations at the beginning, and now that I'm actually going to the videos, I see how ridiculous it is. It's like all of these so-called measurements, they have to go to the center of the presupposed globe, right? So it's ridiculous to think. And then they always have to minus 90. And all like, you know, it's like ding, 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 ding. Now I understand exactly what 10th has been talking about. Don't mention 90. Shh.
Yeah, they want you to be quiet about that, right, 10th?
Yeah, they literally said that. Don't mention 90. Just so I can lean on you guys in the panel. As I mentioned earlier, I do actually have a guy that was due any moment and hasn't been yet. So if in the live show I happen to say, oh, my man's here or something to that effect, can you just pick up the slack so I don't have to end the live stream just to let a guy in and let him point him in the direction of the kitchen? Yeah, we'll all be there for you.
Absolutely not.
So that's the cue.
Call him by his the wash tech.
Yeah, my washing machine.
That will be the point. We just send it to audio chaos.
Yeah,
everybody will start talking like now.
If while I'm in the kitchen going, yeah, here's my washing machine, please fix it, I just hear dead air from the lounge. I'll be like, oh, Jesus. I wish I'd said something.
No, what you have to do, Nathan, you gotta appoint one guy to start a conversation, because then 5 of us are gonna start at once. So when we hear the washing machine guy there, 10th Man start a conversation.
No, I'm
Raise
gone.
your hand, Neil.
Sean start a conversation.
No, let it be John, because I'll be gone half an hour into the show. I gotta go.
It doesn't need that much thought.
Good, I have a good
See you
talking
later,
point.
Are you off
right?
now, 10th?
No, not now. Half an hour into the live show, then I gotta go.
Okay.
What if he comes?
You got to say, Washman, Washman.
No, I'm not gonna panic. I'm just gonna go and answer the door, let him in, which on the first floor might take him a minute, And then once he's in, that might take him another minute. Me saying the pleasantries, that's potential 3 minutes of dead air, right? Anyway, let's not overthink this too much.
I think you're overthinking it.
No, it's
not going to happen.
Pre-warned that there might be a dude coming.
Okay. If I can go look at it, the PBS Kids something.
Yeah, it's called. I'll do that in the show. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Arwin, Refracted Curvature, Neil, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Let's get it on.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hello.
Wow, what enthusiasm. We love it. So we are going to do a video today. I don't know if we should just jump straight into it, maybe not even bother with any housekeeping, as the one member of the panel, Gene, was very keen for us to
Yeah, let's keep it dirty.
Keep it dirty? What if the universe is math, as postulated by PBS Space-Time? So what I'm going to do, in the spirit of what I would hope anybody covering the Flat Earth Debate, or Nathan Oakley 1980 channel specifically, or me, Nathan Oakley, as the person, I would hope that they would share the link to my video, this channel's video, or a video concerning the panel and their discussion points regarding the nature of the Earth that they would be responding to. So in the spirit of exactly that, I have popped a link to this channel, which is PBS Spacetime, in the live stream chat. So if you did want to go and just say, hey, love your stuff, Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, maybe blow some kisses, whatever you like. Anyway, just let them know. And if you want to drop in a minor hint that we did a response video.
Sweets.
Go ahead.
I said sweets, as John calls them, sweets.
Yeah, indeed. Anyway, so that's what we're going to be covering today. So please go and check out the video. Let them know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and we'll crack on with this. As always, we are completely, or I am completely blind to what this video is about. It's been suggested by 10th Man, and yeah. Let's get on with it.
Curious and fluffy. They're also made of cells that are made of molecules, that are made of atoms, that are made of particles, that are made of quantum fields. But quantum fields are neither curious nor fluffy. They have no subjective qualities and have questionable physicality. They seem to be completely describable by only numbers and their behavior precisely defined by equations. In this sense, the quantum world is made of math.
Now, math is a description. You know, when you say that worlds are made of math, that's not true. Now, while you can describe things like fourth dimensional space-time in math, but they don't actually exist in reality, likewise you can describe things that do actually exist in reality with math. But that doesn't mean the world is made of math. That's a reification fallacy. Mathematics is a descriptive language used to describe not only things that exist, but things that do not. So,
this guy,
yeah. Go on.
Sorry, can I say something? This guy obviously thinks that because, well, in the microcosm there, things become so elusive that they only have math to derive things from. And he then thinks, oh, that means that it literally is the math. It's so ridiculous.
Go on,
That's
John.
what they did with the word force.
What? Redefine
it. No, like they talk about gravity, right, as a force, and then it's not a force. Like, it's almost like saying the universe is words. It's just nonsensical.
Indeed. But
right.
There you go.
He thinks that the measurement is basically the thing itself. It's like, oh, we're deriving this from math. Oh, so that means it's math because we don't have anything else than the math. Yeah, but that math is still just an approach. It's not, doesn't mean it's literally math. The math is still something that you're doing to try to derive some information there.
So does that mean cats are made of math too? If you believe the mathematical universe hypothesis, then yes.
No, cats are not made of mathematics. You can describe various functions with mathematics for a cat. But that's like saying, is a cat made of Spanish? It's nonsensical. This is ludicrous.
He's going straight for the math is reality, isn't it?
Basically, yeah. I think that's what 10th pick.
He claimed a cause and effect supposition to that nonsense as well.
Oh, I missed that.
He said hypothesis. That's specific.
Did he? I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Just have a listen.
He said
He's speaking pretty quickly.
The mathematical hypothesis.
Equations. In this sense, the quantum world is made of math. So does that mean cats are made of math too? If you believe the mathematical universe hypothesis, then...
There it is.
Yes, and so are you.
No, I'm not made of maths. No, that's a description. I'm not made of Italian either.
In his essay, The Unreasonable Effectiveness of Mathematics, the physicist Eugene Wigner...
that sounds like a bit of a contradiction, right? So the guy's speaking on mathematics, but he's calling himself a physicist. Okay, so maths, as we've already pretty much established, and I'm sure the audience is now following along, is a language. It's used to describe things. Now, physics is the nature of the physical. Now, these two things aren't the same. But this guy's calling himself a physicist when he's talking about something in mathematics.
Said that the enormous usefulness of mathematics in the natural sciences is something bordering on the mysterious.
Not really. It can utilise mathematics after it's established cause and effect reasoning. So if, for example, and I use this example often, you are to describe how much acid quantity in water will cause boiling, and you can give it in millilitres, or you can weigh it, or you can give its atomic values. That's for the acid. Yeah, but for the fact that it doesn't cause water to boil. Heat does. So you've got the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable, as QE would put it, right? No, it's inconsequential until you've established cause. Now, once you've established in this instance that heat causes water to boil, by way of varying heat to see if you can cause the natural phenomena of water boiling to occur, then afterwards you can say how much heat, how long in duration. Yeah? At what point phase change occurs. You can qualify all the different things that occur that you watch. But the observation and description of the things that have occurred will not alter the cause and effect supposition being validated through experimentation when somebody very smart supposed that heat, when applied to water, will cause it to boil. The phenomena that would be studied in natural science. So, beg my indulgence, my friend. I would say that math is pretty much inconsequential to the scientific method, because you don't need to describe anything mathematically when you're establishing cause. So I fundamentally disagree.
This statement was inspired by the observation that so many aspects of the physical world seem to be describable and predictable by
Describable? Oh, yes. You can describe things with maths. That's correct. Predictable, when it comes to the physical and natural world, that's physics, that's science, would be a suppositional hypothesis. That's a prediction in science. A hypothesis is a prediction. So to be predictable, you need to be able to vary something that's gone through the scientific method with a hypothesis. That's a scientific prediction, not maths. You know, again, knowing how much acid won't ever change that it's not causing something. Yeah? That's a quantitative versus qualitative distinction that's not being applied by this person.
Mathematical equations to incredible precision. The idea that the universe is in some sense mathematical is thousands of years old.
Okay. The idea that the world is Spanish, that makes no sense. Yeah, to say that the world is a language, it makes no sense.
Pythagoras taught that all things are made of numbers. Plato had some notions too.
All things can be described with numbers would be accurate. All things are made of numbers is not. Again, all things are made of Mandarin. No, that makes no sense, does it? Yeah? Because you can describe all things in Mandarin, but it doesn't mean all things are made of Mandarin. That makes no sense.
Which I'll come back to, but it was the program of reductionism of modern physics that really inspired Wigner's statement. One by one, the seemingly disparate theories in physics were...
Sorry, disparate theories? See, theories come out of the application of the scientific method. So if you have a validated cause and effect supposition, that's an experiment, then you can form a theory. What's this disparate theories in physics? What? No, it sounds like you're confusing maths with physics. Physics just deals with the physical and natural world. That's science. The natural science, that's the scientific method when you apply it to an establishment of a cause and effect relationship. But at the end of that method, maybe I'm misinterpreting. What does, in his vernacular, do you think he means by disparate? Anybody? Maybe I'm misinterpreting what his use of this word means.
I think the more important word is, how is he using the word theory at the end of that? What kind of theory is he talking about?
Like I say, scientific theory would have been born out of a empirical outcome after varying and manipulating that which you assume cause and effect you observed in nature. That's what a theory would be if it was actually science. But he's got this word
right.
disparate.
But if they are saying we believe we live on the globe and we believe there's orbits and we did some calculations and our predictions came out to be true, and then they all of a sudden the math proves we live on the globe. Is that where he's going?
That seems very unlikely, though.
Well, because
disparate means it means containing elements of very different form to one another. That's what it means. Things so unalike that there is no basis for comparison. That's what he means. Okay. So when he says disparate theories, I think what he's talking about are your Einsteinian quote-unquote theories and your Cavendish quote-unquote theories. Now, they're disparate because they bear no semblance to the world that we experience, because they're based in mathematics and in bullshit. But in terms of scientific theories, they're not going to be any disparate ones. In terms of validating something that causes something else, it's never going to be in conflict with some other theory. How's that going to be the case? The world is how it is. Once you figure out why it is, with an explanation of cause, that's not going to suddenly vary some of the part of the world and how it behaves. So this word, disparate, I knew that I had an issue with it, and I was right in doing so. I didn't major on the minors there. I'm glad I looked it up.
Revealed to be special cases of more elegant underlying mathematics.
No, there's no special, elegant, underlying mathematical cases. When it comes to laws of nature, laws, number one, aren't science. They're descriptions also. You can describe it in many different languages, some of them be mathematical in nature. But those laws are just descriptions of things that occur always. There's no physics, per se, other than the description of something that occurs, because you're not figuring out what caused it. But you're having these cases where you've got one more elegant description in maths than another. But those have been labelled as theories. Now we're getting somewhere.
Right. He's complaining about how the story, right, the collection of stories based on presuppositional concepts, how they are basically, oh, they're starting to contradict each other. Oh, how is that possible? Yeah, because they're just made up stories about things that aren't proven. And then, yeah, guess what? People make up contradicting things, sometimes because they like to do that.
Yeah, but he's got the outrage to call them disparate theories. You're like, well, while they've been badged theories, in real terms, they're colloquial by definition, even though they're being put into a scientific context. So if you're going to use this colloquial theory with them being disparate, i.e. opposing one another, as our input to just outright contradictions in most instances, recognise why. It's not because you need to unify some of this mathematics. It's because the world isn't mathematics. And people can describe things inaccurately and then have them oppose other descriptions. The world, meanwhile, continues to tick along quite nicely, and if you've established cause and effect reasoning for any of the parts of the world that you wanted to explore, those things won't be validated or invalidated beyond what you've proven upon experimentation to form that theory.
Right. Thinking that math is reality leads automatically to solipsism, and here's how. If you think that math is reality, well, math is a description. So if you think that everything that exists is only a description, well, descriptions only exist within our consciousness in the information realm. So that would mean that the entire universe is only in our minds.
Yes. Very well put, Arwin.
Mathematical laws until we were left with only two equations describing all of nature, the Lagrangian of the standard model of particle physics and Einstein's field equations of general relativity. All the incredible complexity that we see in the universe from
These would be those disparate theories, by the way, if anyone wasn't, it's the reason there was silence in amongst that was because we got there before he did. Yeah, we'd figured out what he was talking about with his disparate theories, and there they are. Right? Yeah, okay, so you've got some descriptions, one of which is using Einsteinian concepts of fourth-dimensional space-time bending. Yeah, we don't even need to highlight it. We figured it out before you got there.
Biology to human culture appears to ultimately emerge from matter, space and time as numerical quantities.
Sorry, things emerge from time, do they? Really? See, no, not in my experience. Time's not a dimension. Things don't emerge from time. Show me time, my friend. Now show me something emerging from time. Now, given that it's a mathematical description, like everything that you'll be covering here today, it's not going to emerge anything in physical terms, because it's a description. It's a concept. Time is not a dimension. But what, is this one of those disparate theories? No, it's Einstein turning time into a dimension. And then you thinking that things can emerge from that dimension. Nope.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Hold
show
on,
us
Nathan.
time and time again.
Hold on a second. Every morning at 5 o'clock, the sun emerges.
So you think time bore the sun, did you, Neil? No, time's not a dimension, and it isn't birthing the sun, Neil. Number one, our notions of time have been born out of how we perceive the sun. So, if anything, it's the antithesis of your description of the sun being birthed from time, when our description of time has mostly come from the sun, describing its motion. Yeah? So how much of our experience elapses, the numbers and digits we ascribe have come out of that system that we observe in the celestial items that move. Their paths, their timings give us our notions and our concepts of time. So then take that and work outside of the convention to describe our experience in existence. Well, that working outside the convention is where you end up with an extra dimension. Now, it's perfectly reasonable to describe how much what we call time elapses when describing the progress of something. Now, you can put a stopwatch to that. But then when you say, no, the line between back then, 2 minutes ago, and now, is a line akin to a Euclidean dimension or a Cartesian line. No, it isn't. Time is not a dimension. But when you have that misapprehension, you'll want to square the circle of disparate theories, which is what this dude's doing. Maths is not reality. Quick shout out to Godzilla37. He says, I'm not a number. I'm a human being. However, I just found that I made numbers, apparently. I'm just made of numbers. Made of money. You've been so supportive of the show, Godzilla, so thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Really do appreciate the support. You are not made of your money. But I appreciate it because I've got lots of things to fix. So thank you very much for the support.
Obeying these equations. So, if we can describe baseline reality in...
Again, he thinks reality has to obey equations. Now, we describe things in reality with equations. The reality isn't then subservient to our descriptions.
Purely mathematical terms, can we take this one step further? What if we say that the universe isn't just described by mathematics?
It is just described with mathematics in this context, though. So whatever you say next, yeah, it's just you aggrandizing your mathematical prowess into it being physics when it isn't.
But in a more fundamental way, it actually is mathematics.
You could say it, and you're going to say it, but I'm not going to agree with it, because I understand how descriptions aren't physics. How language isn't physics. Now, obviously, you don't appreciate that describing things doesn't govern physics, the physical. How things in our physical world work. No, you can describe them all day long with your mathematics, and you can think, wow, I've done such a good job that I control the reality itself with my number. No, you're a clown. Your head's just got too big. That's why you're doing this. Yeah, you want your maths to govern reality. It doesn't.
This is the proposal of MIT cosmologist Max Tegmark.
Look at this smiling cheese ball. My bad. Yeah, curtains. This dude. This is the dude that wants his mathematics to be governing the physical reality. Yeah, he wants his maths to be physics. No, mate. Yeah, you'd be subservient to the world and how it behaves if you were a physicist. You'd be scratching the surface of trying to explain it by establishing cause. But even then, they're not controlling the world, and your maths certainly isn't when it describes it, or attempts to.
He calls it the mathematical universe hypothesis.
Oh, really? See, a hypothesis in physics is a supposition of a cause and effect relationship yet to be validated through systematic experimentation. That's what a hypothesis is in physics, but according to him, it's what he calls it. Oh, he calls it a hypothesis. Yeah, he's stealing valor from science now, isn't he?
It states that our external physical reality...
No, my friend, if he's saying it, yeah, that's got sod all to do with reality. You know, that's everything to do with his words and how he describes things. Yeah?
Is a mathematical structure.
No, you can describe it with mathematical structures. And no matter how much you want them to be the physics of our world, they are not. Yeah? Now, you've been suckered in by this dude, haven't you, mate? That's why you're verbalising it to us now. But me, what? The scummiest pond life that is considered on this plane? The flat earther even recognises that descriptions aren't governing our reality. So this is pretty sad, really, by all accounts. And were you to respond and tell me, nah, math is reality. Yeah, see how that worked out for Ed's rhetoric. Maybe you could leave a link to my video when you do respond. In the same way, I'm going to respond to you and post a link to your video and encourage my audience to go and say hello, let them know how wonderful they think your material is, and say Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, after doing a response video to you thinking that you govern the world with descriptions. How embarrassing. It is pretty sad, though, would you not agree, Discord and G+? Pathetic.
Well, yeah, but if I describe my cat as orange, therefore I made my cat orange, why is that wrong?
If I describe my cat in Chinese or in Mandarin or whatever, that makes my cat Chinese? No. It's just ludicrous.
Tegmark makes the case for the hypothesis by first defining the concept...
Maybe he could define what hypothesis is before he defines concepts within his hypothesis that he hasn't defined.
...of baggage. Any theory in physics always comes with two components.
Okay. Any theory in physics always comes with two components. A set of equations. Oh my God. You think a theory in physics comes with equations? Au contraire. Not at all. No, a theory comes after validated experimentation that proved cause and effect. So once you've got the cause and effect, you can form a theory. You don't need any equations for that. Oh, was this just what that guy said about his theory? Yeah, Dumbo? No, I'm afraid not. We don't accept this. In fact, we reject it wholeheartedly and call foul. Because you're talking about maths, but yet physics means the physical. And now you're talking about physical things containing equations. No, you'll never show me anything in physical reality that contains an equation. Ever. It's not possible. Yeah? You're not going to show me a mouse and then show me how it's got equations in it. No. You'll be able to describe various aspects of it with equations, but you'll never show me equations in the mouse. Yeah? So this is utter tripe. Like, absolutely and totally absurd. And annoying. Shout out to Jamal24, who says, I think what he's trying to say is that math is reality. Everything is numbers. We need 4 more hours because 4 is a number. That's true. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Also, again, woohoo! Shout out to Godzilla. He says he's right. 4 is a number. Now choose. Or now, no choice, Nathan. No choice now, Nathan. Let me just read that again. That was a complete balls up on my part. He's right. 4 is a number. No choice now, Nathan. Thank you for the super chat, guys. Really appreciate the support.
A set of equations and a bunch of sentences explaining exactly how these equations relate.
That's what you think a theory is? Yeah, you think that's a physics theory? All right. Maybe define theory. Yeah, that would help. Before you start babbling on about how it's got a few sentences and a few equations. That's a theory, is it? Oh, definitely not, you clown. Go away and learn what a theory is before you start parroting off some smiling cheeseball who thinks that maths is reality and telling us how theory in physics contains sentences and equations. What bloody outrage. So yeah, Nathan Oakley 1987, PBS Space Time is the channel. Obviously, I'd hope he puts a link to my channel if he responds.
To our human intuitions and what we can observe via experiment.
Observed by experiment. So we've got these words all being hijacked left, right. So observed by experiment, that's a composition fallacy. No, in an experiment, you would be varying that which you assume causes the effect you observed at step 1 in the method. But what we can observe via the experiment? No, the experiment validates the cause of the effect if you followed the method. And then you can form a theory. Yeah, that theory won't be a few sentences and equations. Yeah, it'll show the cause and effect relationship that you validated when you varied that which you assume caused the effect. That you observed at step 1. This is tripe. This is nonsense. What bloody outrage.
For example, quantum mechanics is...
Oh, here we go. Now he's going to start doing it with quantum mechanics.
Presented in textbooks as a handful of equations along with a list of postulates relating to the equations.
The equations? Who gives a crap? Quantum mechanics is based on experiment. That would be supposition of cause and effect relationship based on a phenomena. That's what that is. It's got sod all to do with the maths that's derived thereafter. Were you going to say that computers run all sorts of maths? And they've got the label of quantum, therefore quantum is maths? You're a clown.
Written in plain English. Baggage, as Tegmark puts it. Although I have to say that his choice of the word baggage may be a hint to Tegmark's bias towards the primacy of math over anything non-math.
No shit. Yeah, you think? He's derived the word of physics in every single instance with experiments, hypotheses, theory, and bundled it in as a described few equations and a few sentences. What, you think he's got a bias against non-math? Yeah, he's got a bias against reality. And that's not an insult. That's literally and figuratively what's going on. The guy's got a bias against reality, mate.
Max Tegmark points out a pattern in the math-to-baggage ratio in theories of nature.
Anybody who's thinking this bearded twat is just talking complete nonsense when he talks about the, quote, math-to-baggage ratio, yeah, you're not alone. He is an idiot, numpty, talking complete tosh. Yeah, the baggage to math ratio. Okay. Yeah, meanwhile, us, the ridiculed, the flat earthers of this world, we talk about how we do things in reality. Things like navigation and science, physics, the physical. And when we talk about maths, we insist on measurement, application of scale to physical reality. What's this, you say? The math to baggage ratio? Get the fuck out of here.
To get this, first, let's arrange the world into a hierarchy of emergence.
Because you can do that, what with math being reality and it being at your fingertips, Mr. God. Let's arrange reality. No, you see, your math doesn't govern reality. So unfortunately, Clown Shoes, we can't do that. It doesn't matter how many numbers we write down, we're not going to be arranging reality. You understand that? Hello?
For example,
But
you
that's
might
what
say
they
that...
think.
Go ahead, Neil.
Saying, but that's what they think constantly, that math is reality, and that's their fallacy.
Yeah, reification.
Human culture emerges from individual minds, which emerge from the neural dynamics of brains, which emerge from the actions of cells, which emerge from molecules, which emerge from atoms and quantum fields. In terms of scientific field, that list corresponds...
Sorry, scientific... In terms of scientific fields, you've just made this diagram to describe something with a limited understanding of it. But now we're talking about in terms of scientific fields. I don't understand this juxtaposition. Science is a method. It's used to establish cause. Cause of what, you say? Well, definitely not things that are man-made, and not the cause of descriptions in maths. The cause of naturally occurring phenomena. So, you're just hijacking the words of science left and right.
Responds to sociology, then psychology, then...
But you think sociology and psychology are science? Au contraire, they are pseudoscience. Yeah? So neuroscience being the study of the mind, neurology, yeah? Unless you're establishing cause and effect reasoning with systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis, it's not science. It's a study. Now, I'm not invalidating any of the neurologists. Now, many might try and decry the work of psychology and sociology, but they're definitely not science.
Neuroscience, then biology, then chemistry, then physics.
Biology and chemistry, on the other hand, can have naturally occurring phenomena that can be put through the scientific method. Medicine has been enhanced by way of systematic experimentation to figure out the cause of phenomena, like people dying of various diseases. That's a phenomena that you can put through the scientific method. That's biology. Chemistry, the same. You can ascertain the cause of chemical interactions, effects, through systematic experimentation based on hypotheses, so that you can have empirical outcome. But then he says, and then physics. No, physics is the overarching umbrella that all the sciences sit under. The physical. All of them are physics. Yeah, if they're following the method. But if they're not, they're pseudoscience. If they're claiming to be science and they haven't followed the method, that is the definition of pseudoscience. A claim of science where the application of the scientific method has not been applied. That's pretty much verbatim what it says in the dictionary. For pseudoscience as a definition. Something claimed to be science that hasn't been through the scientific method. But if it has, you can subcategorize them under the umbrella of physics. It's not a separate category.
And maybe then you have a presumptive theory of everything.
A presumptive theory? No, you have presumptions of cause in hypotheses. A theory comes after you've validated something with an experiment. You utter cluster screw of nonsense. You think you've got presumptive theories? No, they come after validation of cause. They come after experiment and validation, after the empiricism's been offered. Then comes the theory. What's this presumptive nonsense? Oh, you mean your bullshit pseudoscience theories? The colloquial theories? The having a little think about it theories? Those presumptive theories? Because in science, that means something very different. Something that's come after empiricism's been established. That's what science has when it means theory. You don't mean that, do you? Very much not. You're just using these words that most people are going to assume you've got some validity to this bullshit when you use them. Yeah, you're just talking about language, my friend. Don't hijack the words of physics and science.
Everything at the very bottom. In principle, each theory in one of these fields could be derived from the theories below it. Tegmark points out that
Sorry, you think there's a theory of chemistry and a theory of biology? Are you a clown? Oh, God, I'm going to... Choking on my own phlegm as I laugh. Sorry, maybe you could offer me the theory of biology. I'd love to see it. What's the theory of physics? Anybody? Anybody know what he's talking about? Is it just me? Am I going nuts? This guy's basically postulating this graph has got these things on it listed and they've all got theories attached. The theory of biology, the theory of physics, the theory of chemistry. No, mate, you need to look up what these words mean.
Theories at the top are mostly regular human language, while theories
come after experiments. Experiments have empirical outcomes to them. It's not about language. Yeah?
At the bottom are mostly math.
Go on, John.
I was going to say, theories are like biology has germ theory, right? There is no theory of biology. That doesn't make sense. It's delusional at best. I don't think he knows what these words mean.
He's got everything mixed up.
Betty had someone over an absolute barrel with that. I can't remember who it was, but Kiwi and her were discussing that exact topic, and then it came up on a debate she was having just by coincidence very shortly after they'd been discussing it. And somebody's heckling from the sidelines about math being reality, just like this guy. And germ theory came up. And no, that was right. There's somebody who's an actual physicist in the audience, globe-believing physicist, who understands germ theory, right? And Betty's opponent is saying math is reality, same as this tribe. And germ theory comes up, and Betty says, give me the equation for germ theory then. Right? Math is reality, give me the theory in mathematical format. Okay, it's got a theory. We know it exists. Math is reality, give it me. And from the chat, his compadre on the globe side's like, yeah, you're not going to have a good time with that, my friend. Yeah, you're not going to give us an equation for something that's been validated through systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis, because that's something that's got cause and effect reasoning behind it as opposed to maths. So there is no mathematics for germ theory. There's no equation for it, you clown. Right? But so yeah, shout out to Betty, our illustrious leader on the Discord server. So yeah, she had someone absolutely banged to rights with that argument. And all she did was ask for the equation. All right, germ theory's got an equation, give it me. Was like, there isn't one. Well, that kind of scuppers your argument quite significantly then, doesn't it now?
A sociology
good one is also oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Duncan.
Yeah, I was just going to say a good one is also show me -5 apples.
Right. Yeah, Anthony Riley's favourite.
Textbook is filled with paragraphs of text, while a string theory textbook is wall-to-wall group theory and algebraic topology. If you're willing to extrapolate this trend, then maybe at the very bottom of the hierarchy, our coveted theory of everything.
Right, theory of everything. So, theory based on the scientific experimentation systematic thereof to establish cause and effect of everything. So you've got the cause of everything. Because in scientific terminology, that's what this statement means. The theory that followed the systematic experimentation to establish the cause and effect reasoning behind everything. Yeah, no wonder you think there's theories for physics and theories for science. And theories for biology. You're a clown. You don't know what the word means.
Nathan, they hijacked it. I heard it all weekend in football, the defensive theory, the offensive theory.
That's different. No. Colloquially, theory is a perfectly acceptable word to use when you say, we're going to build... an investigation. We've got a theory who committed the crime. Colloquially, there's nothing wrong with that use. But when you're in the context of science, which this guy absolutely is, he's trying to assert that maths is reality. Maths is physics. The world is made of numbers. Yeah, we're not in the Matrix. My God. But that's what he wants, isn't it? So fine, we're entertaining it. But where does he put himself in terms of genre? What category is he in? He's talking about the fields of science. He's talking about quantum mechanics. He's talking about experiments and theories. So, well, that puts him very much squarely in the face of having to justify it with a cause and effect supposition. That's a hypothesis, validated by experiment. So, when you just say the word theory, I've got a theory about how I can get over this hill here with my gearbox in a certain gear to get over it. Yeah, that's fine. That's not reasonable. But if I say, there's a science to getting over this hill, I've got the theory in my handbook. No, you haven't. And when the moment you said science, you put yourself into a genre that establishes cause for phenomena. That's natural science. That's the method of natural science. But what, you just wanted to say there's a science to your Land Rover and you're going to put it in low ratio, and that's the theory of getting over the hill. No. That's then ultimately a pseudoscience nonsense bullshit claim and a hijacking of the terminology to give it more grandeur. So, definitely science to going over that. No, there isn't science to going over this hill in your Land Rover. No, there isn't science to your mathematics in this instance. Ah, thank God Adam's here. Hey, Adam. Thank God you're here.
Afternoon,
That's what
guys.
they said, though. They brought science into it. They're talking about the science behind this offensive scheme, the science behind this defensive scheme, and then they throw the word theory in there.
Oh, now that does contextualize it very differently, Neil. So, yep, take it all back. If they're saying there's a science to the offensive, no, there isn't. There's a graph and a math.
The only way you can legally use there's a science to that would be the offense and defensive playbooks could, from an English literature point of view, be described as the science of gridiron. But it's only applicable, the word science in this case, and it's being used to mean a compendium of an organized compendium of one specific topic, which presents all the known information about it. You can use the term science like that.
So he's skirting on a reasonable use of it, just skirting on if they've got a playbook, but it's not a compendium. It's not a complete book. But yeah, there's certain circumstances, Neil, where you just let it slide.
So that's the only thing you could challenge him on. I had to look up that because I always remember one of my favourite books was Pharmaceutics, The Science of Dosage Form Design. I'm trying to justify myself. How the hell are we using that? But that is why. You see, that is another definition. But recognise that definition doesn't have any empiricism with it. It doesn't have to include any science in the sense of what we'd call science. It's just a collation of all the knowledge you have, which could be logic or just history. Or in my case,
so
technology.
by the same token, you could have the science of flying, and then the book would contain all of the information on how we went from being on the ground to being in the air, and how all of the motion, the Bernoulli principle, all of the things that apply to it and the mathematics thereof would be contained therein, and that would be the science of flying.
Yeah, the science of knitting. So it goes through all the different loops and stitches you do in an organised way, how to do it, and it's all a complete compendium of information on knitting. That would be the science of knitting. But it's being used in the world term of knowledge. And
sure, but when you're in a realm of describing reality, that's physics. When you're talking about the world we experience and whether or not it's made of maths, again, not his description, but the genre is physics, the physical. He's saying, is the phys in physics the physical math? No, they're completely separate genres. They're completely separate categories. They're in completely separate classrooms because they're completely separate things. One is a description. The other is the way that we experience the physical world that we are in. So they're totally different things. It's just people getting above their station. You wanted to be a physicist, and even if you'd have become one, this guy we're responding to in this case, it's not him because he's parroting off the other guy that he's reading about with the cheesy face from earlier, whose name I can't remember. But that guy wanted to be a physicist. But even if he'd got to be one, he wouldn't have been satisfied because he wants to be able to control the world. He's saying that the numbers, which are at his fingertips and he controls, are what the world is made of. Now, if we can subcategorize the world as such, it's like, well, no, you can't. That's where the problem occurs. When you say, well, if we have the world in this way, with an Einsteinian description of it, it's like, no, Einstein's not controlling the physics of the world in his crap description of it with the fourth dimension. There we go. Just people above their own station.
There will be no baggage at all, simply a set of elegant equations. If we define baggage as the stuff that encodes the relation between the equations and our human perspective...
I see. So if we say this word baggage means the physical from maths. So just remember, when I say baggage, what I mean is this total convolution of maths being reality. Just forget the steps between our human perspective, what you mean, how I take in the physical world I experience, and the mathematics that's describing it in a language. I'm just gonna bundle that all together and call it baggage. Yeah, for a mathematician, it's a very appropriate word. Like the baggage of your math not being reality. But you just like flip it on its head and say, oh, all that us not being reality when we're descriptions of it, all that's just baggage, really. In reality, we are actually talking about how the world is maths. And anything that's not is just baggage. Yeah, how appropriate of a word. Now, I don't accept that your descriptions of my human perspective, that's my experience of the physical, is actually a mathematical one. Because you've put the word baggage with quotes around it. No, it doesn't work like that, mate.
Then if you remove humans, you remove the baggage.
Oh, right. So if we understand that baggage means my interpretation through maths of my physical experience, and then we remove the physical human experience, we're only left with the maths. Wow. I mean, it's like you've turned the math into reality before my very eyes, you clever wizard. Or not.
So now we invoke the external reality hypothesis.
I see. So now we've detached all human physical experience from our maths. We can call it the reality hypothesis. Yeah, but we're still just describing stuff in a non-reality, non-physical, detached from our human experience world that isn't anything to do with the physical that you think it influences. So no. Yeah, this is garbage. Yeah? A mathematician wanking. That's what this is. It's pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Yeah? You and the guy who wrote this are wankers. This is your mental masturbation, where you turn your math into reality. I find it very sad.
The assumption that there is an external physical reality that exists independently of us.
What, the one that we experience? The one that you just detached it from? Well, there is. You've just made it up and are wanking about it.
And that humans and our baggage-heavy minds are
baggage-heavy physical interactions with our reality. How inconvenient they are for us and our mathematical hypothesis. Oh, wow. Wow. Sniff your own farts much?
Urgent from this baggage-free baseline reality.
Yeah, if we just get rid of baggage... remember when I clarified for this very purpose that baggage is you and your human experience described in maths? You just need to get rid of that for this tosser's nonsense to make sense and be your reality. Just drop the baggage of your physical reality experience, okay? Have you done that? Are you all experiencing less baggage right now? What, you still got that baggage? Bloody idiots. You just don't understand math.
That's where you get into the high energy short distance problems in this baggage he's describing.
In Tegmark's view, that leaves only math for our description of that reality.
Yeah, we got that. Yeah, we figured that out, yeah.
If there is nothing else, say...
there is, though. There's still my physical baggage. I mean, the reality I experience. Yeah, if there's nothing out there, yeah, there is. You know those suitcases over there? I'm going to call those suitcases reality. Can you carry them for me? What, you don't want to? I'll sod off to your non-reality without any suitcases then, Dumbo.
To an electron, but a set of numbers describing its position, momentum and charge, etc. Can we say that the electron simply is that set of numbers?
You can, but I would call you a tosser. Yeah, we could. Yeah, we can also reify the descriptions of them into them being like orbital little items moving around other items and various other shite that people do when they've tried to describe this stuff with maths. But no, unfortunately, just because you've got a really good way of describing them with numbers, can I please ask you to drop your baggage of physical reality and say that they just are the numbers, please? No, you can't. Okay? You asked, I've told you. No. I've still got my physical reality baggage. Baggage, I don't see it as baggage, my friend. I see it as wonderful, the physical reality. It's not baggage to me, even though this Dumbo's labelled it as such.
The mathematical universe hypothesis hinges on the notion that mathematical existence equals physical existence. This is the
Oh, I see. So it's hinging on the idea that the baggage you dropped when you detached us from physical reality is actually the mathematical reality. So it's contingent on us accepting math is reality for you to prove that math is reality. So if I don't accept this linchpin thing that it all hinges on, that basically destroys your God complex then, doesn't it? It kind of pisses on the bonfire so badly that it's embarrassing. When I just say, no, I'm not going to detach my physical baggage of reality from your mathematics, so then you can say that there is no reality attachment to mathematics, therefore there is only the mathematics, and therefore it's reality. Yeah, that doesn't work, mate. It's absolutely absurd. I'm surprised you couldn't figure that out yourself.
Most controversial part of the
Hey.
Hello.
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 Hello. Mind-independent reality is a direct contradiction of quantum mechanics.
I can't remember the context, so you'll have to fill us in on what you mean, because I haven't kept up enough to know what that means. Go ahead.
Mind-independent reality. For matter to exist, you must have a knower. There's the context.
Gotcha.
It's in direct violation of the entire quantum mechanics.
Gotcha. No, thank you for clarifying. Have you been outraged by this as well?
I just caught that last part.
It's akin to the video you sent me. You sent me a video which I did listen through, but right at the beginning of the video, the guy was like, now, for some of you who haven't got an extensive understanding of tensor mathematics, this might be a bit over your head. For you, go and watch another video. For anybody who has, follow along and listen. And I was like, you know what, I don't actually have a really good understanding of tensor mathematics, but I'm going to listen anyway. And it's about a 20-minute video. About 8 minutes in, I was like, yeah, I really should have heeded his warning at the beginning of this, because I've got basically no idea what's going on in the mathematics. But then when I sent that to QE, he was like, yeah, but it's maths, it's not reality, is it? Or words to the effect of, I'd figured it out immediately as being pseudoscience, I think is how you phrased it back to me. And I'm like, yeah, that's all I took away from it, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm humbled by the maths itself, because the maths itself was pretty amazing, I'm not going to lie. And the fact that I didn't understand it is not surprising to me. I'm no mathematician. But it doesn't alter, no matter how beautiful the maths that is being presented is, or in this case, how eloquent the undoing of the maths with tensor calculus or whatever it was is, doesn't change that none of it's based in reality to begin with, right? So, does it matter? Yeah, it's wonderful to look at the maths, but understanding it doesn't change my reality, does it?
Well, you didn't understand first order differential invariance.
What was the comment that I put to you? What was my response? I'll just read it out. I'll dig it out because I thought it was funny, even though it was me saying it. It was to you personally, wasn't it?
No, I don't think so.
No, I can't remember which channel it was in now. Well, I won't be able to find it in a pinch. But I said words to the effect of, what did you say? What was that list of words again? I don't understand.
First order differential invariance.
I went, of course, it's the first order differential invariance. It was in front of our noses the whole time. Yeah, in other words, I have no idea.
Stephen Crothers is certifiable, man. But he debunked the mathematics of Einstein, just crushed it, right? But you don't really need that because it's supposed to be a scientific theory to begin with, right? So you just ask him, where's the hypothesis in the paper? I wrote back to Stephen. I've talked to him a couple times personally, by the way.
And I admire the guy. I mean, the mathematics was amazing, and he did a really good job up until a point where I lost track. And he did forewarn his audience that may be the case. And I don't know. Yes, he's just going through some maths, but he seemed like a perfectly reasonable fellow in the video.
I got into a forum, into a discussion. I didn't say anything between Stephen Crothers and Nobel laureate, and Stephen just whipped him around by his short hairs.
That's the guy in the video, right?
Say again?
That's the guy in the video that I was just talking about who was debunking Einstein with tensor.
Yeah, Stephen Crothers.
Yeah. He was whipping who around by his short hairs.
Yeah, it's a Dutch guy. It's got a real funny name. I'll find it.
Just out
He's
of interest.
a Nobel laureate, so he's a big deal.
Well, yes, indeed. I was just going to say, is the guy in that video Crothers, right? Is that his name?
Stephen Crothers.
Is he a flatty?
Oh,
No.
I tried to. I talked to him surrounding the topic. I didn't get into it. I was trying to use kid gloves, and it didn't take. So I dropped it with him.
Oh, you've broached it. So you don't know then? You maybe.
No, he's not.
Oh, okay.
He's a component of the electric universe.
Oh, he's an electric universe guy. Oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. So he's got an interest in debunking some of the universal nonsense from Einstein. Then that's why I was asking. Actually, I wanted to know his motivation in that regard, because there's normally, it's not that I've got a one-track mind, but you think, okay, well, obviously he's got to be a flatty then, right? He's coming from a perspective that he wants to debunk Einstein, but he's electric universe. Okay, no, that makes more sense.
Yeah, I tried to discuss the vacuum of space with him and a couple other of his cohorts, but they kind of dodged the topic. And I did find that Dutch physicist. His name's Gerard T. Hooft, Hooft.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got about 5 minutes left on this live stream, but if we get up to 130 people watching, it's 115 people watching at the moment, then maybe we'll go a little bit longer and respond a bit more to this video.
But let's not lose sight of the fact that he just contradicted all of quantum mechanics, by the way. Mind-independent reality.
So you're saying he put his foot in his mouth?
Yeah, the moment he excluded the knower, given that the quantum mechanics principles are based on knowledge of the which path, in the case of the double slit experiment. That's establishment of cause and effect reasoning by way of systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis, by the way, PBS space-time. Yeah, that's based on knowledge. So how are you supposed to have a mind independent? It's a contradiction in terms of quantum mechanics at its heart, right, QE? Yes, Nathan. Yeah, great. Let's move on.
Idea.
Sorry,
but the
I
most
did say yes. I
disturbing
was on mute.
Cool.
part is the implication of this statement. If mathematical existence implies physical existence, then
it doesn't. It doesn't unless I relinquish the baggage you told us to relinquish, because your cheeseball monkey guy that wants to be God has told you to relinquish it and labelled it baggage. I didn't. It was embarrassing when I said no. It was just down to a simple choice. Do I relinquish the baggage of reality for mathematical constructs being reality? And I said no. From that point forward, this is all garbage.
According to Tegmark, everything that exists mathematically also...
According to Tegmark, all right, according to Nathan Oakley, you're a dumbo who's been suckered into relinquishing your own reality because some guy wrote it down.
So exists physically.
Hey.
More precise.
Sorry, go on.
Bernard D. Espinal, particle physicist, the Quantum Theory and Reality, Scientific American. This is from 1979. I was a freshman in high school. The doctrine that the world is made up of objects whose existence is independent of human consciousness, that is, mind-independent reality, turns out to be in conflict with quantum mechanics and with facts established by experiment. End of citation and the end of him. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Precisely, any self-consistent mathematical structure that can be written down can be said to mathematically exist, and so it therefore also physically exists.
After we relinquish the baggage? No. No. It's just a description. Getting way above your station in terms of what maths can do, it can describe.
In the same way that our universe does.
No, our universe doesn't. It's described to by Einstein. You know, he's done the same trick. But that's not how our universe, in quotes, exists. Yeah, maths can describe it in Einsteinian fourth dimensions. That doesn't make fourth dimensions real either. Wow.
By the way, in this context, a mathematical structure is a set of mathematical objects that are based...
Sorry, mathematical objects? Like the mouse that's made of equations, right? That sort of mathematical object. Or is it the ones that exist only in your mathematics after we've dropped the baggage of reality and then called the non-reality of mathematics reality? Yeah, we didn't do that, though, did we? Yeah.
Based certain axioms. And mathematical objects are number-like entities such as the integers.
Mouses, elephants, hippopotamus.
Yeah, I trip over integers every time I walk out in nature. I tripped over a couple yesterday.
Yeah, I'm breathing. I'm breathing binary right now.
I had a division symbol try to kill me.
Yeah, well, I enjoy eating fractions. Don't know about you.
The real numbers, vectors, etc. And the things that relate these entities, like operators, functions, and so on.
As opposed to interactions in physical reality. Yeah, the supernatural consciousness of a human mind. You know, those sorts of things. Yeah, they're all excluded. They're just baggage. Basically, a pain in the ass for maths. What pain!
Every independent, self-consistent such structure manifests as a universe out there somewhere.
Does it? Really? Right, I see. So these maths integers, right? They're universes, basically. Yeah, that makes total sense. If you're a clown.
So what started off as a sort of intuitive claim about physics...
Intuitive? You think this was intuitive? Relinquishing reality as baggage? This was intuitive, was it? Oh, I see. Yeah, very, very intuitive, yeah.
Has resulted in a claim about an infinity of parallel universes, what Tegmark calls the level 4 multiverse.
This is where the new bullshit's coming from, isn't it? This is what the new hotness or the new world will be. Yeah, we thought all along that it was just the universe that was flat. Now, well, it turns out Earth is flat, but we're existing in parallel universes derived from baggage-laden reality being dropped and descriptions in physical mathematics giving you universes coming out of equations. Yeah, you got these extra dimensions by turning time into a line, working outside the convention that was used to describe it as derived from the celestial movements and turning it into a dimension in Einstein, and now grandiose tossers like this guy and the guy who's citing think they can turn their numbers into universes. They basically want to be God. It's pathetic. Any last remarks? If not, we're going to round out, go to the after show. No? Nobody got any comments before we round out and go to the after show? As I cue up my camera and turn on my lights. Please, God, say something. No, clearly not. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming streams, however, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Another massive thank you to all of you who tuned in. Smash the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit my GoFundMe campaign and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.
It's a much bigger multiverse than the other kinds. From the level 1 multiverse you get from infinite space generated by eternal inflation.
So, internal inflation, first law of thermodynamics violation? I think not. Yeah, derived from Big Bang nonsense. Okay. In terms of him scaling up the dimensions, we did the 10th dimension guy. And I don't know about you guys, but I would assume that the vast majority of his bullshit's been disseminated to us in the first 6 minutes of his 17-minute video. And then he's going to justify how we've got 10th or 11th dimensions being born out of time and then folding things back in that were 3-dimensional back to being 2-dimensional and 2-dimensional things being back to being single-dimensional dots and so on and so forth.
So quantum. Huey.
He heard you, Bookfin, or the Book FN, is that right?
Yeah, it's elbow.
The Book.
Huey around?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So about 57, Huey.
What up, y'all? What up?
He's choosing not to respond till he finds out what you're gonna say. So maybe just say it. The Book.
It's so about 57. That was it. Had to do with high school, 1979, freshman year.
Say what?
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 So about 57.
57 what?
Your age.
59.
It's close.
Close.
Well, that's lovely. Glad we got that cleared up.
How many Super Bowls are there?
I got 2.
How many Super Bowls have been played? 57, right?
Oh,
That's
played.
how old I am.
Sorry, I thought you meant something else.
Nathan talking about a big old bong hit.
Heyo.
Hey, Flowers. What was that all about earlier? Goading.
I have no idea. He's on a I don't know if I'm allowed to say the word, but he's on a witch hunt, I guess.
Yeah, an anti-pedophile witch hunt.
Yeah,
what's that all about,
it's out
though?
of control. I don't know, man. He was recording us without us knowing about it, and then flipping stuff out of
Well,
context.
I can hear how the context ran from what you said. You were like, he's saying, so if you're saying love thy neighbour, well, does that mean you love murderers? And you go, yeah, okay, I don't condone murdering, but yes, by that standard, I have to love thy neighbour. So if I'm living next to a convicted murderer who's done his time and he's done his 25 to life and went in when he was 16 and he's in his 50s, then yeah, I'm not going to pour scorn on my neighbour, right? That you give it as much context as possible. Response from opponent. So you love murderers then? Oh my God.
Yeah, and I mean, I even went further and told him, it's like, I would be no matter where you go, you'd live a really miserable life, because pretty much anywhere you pull up on a map nowadays with at least here in the States and their registry laws, they have to register online so you can pull up your address and see where all of them are around you. And it's like anywhere you go, you've got quite a few in your neighborhood. So you'd be a pretty disgruntled person for a long time.
But do you care? Do you have any interest in this subject beyond your
Exactly,
disdain
not at all.
that a normal person would hold, right? Other than presumably that dude bringing it up, I assume you've got no interest. And you were talking about loving thy neighbour. So your intentions in discussion are about loving thy neighbour, and it gets turned into you loving paedophiles. Right, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's some odd obsession he's got where he's hyper focused on it. So maybe he needs just a little bit of therapy or something for it. I'm not sure.
It's just prevalent on YouTube. There's a lot of paedophile hunters on YouTube. So
I saw there's this thing called Area Vibes, where you type in your zip code, postal code, or area or city, and it tells you the rating of your city, crime, and everything. And my city or my neighborhood is set 57% livable, which is a very bad high crime.
Fair enough. So you've
I
got to
don't
be
know how many
vigilant, but you'd know that if you was even the remotest bit self-aware in the town that you live in, right? You don't need to look it up. You
What,
know
the
what
P
your town's
guys?
like, don't you? And
The
as
P
for
guys, they just indicted 57. I think there was school advisors and firemen and judge in the Dallas Police Department. I think it was like 57 people, all with people that in relation to public service, of course. 57 P word guys. It was called Operation Brutus Gradius or something like that. Judas, Operation Judas.
wow,
A lot of P words in my neighborhood, I guess.
sure. I don't know. I don't get it. From a Christian conversation about loving thy neighbour, we end up just talking about this. Anyway.
Well, as a person that has 7 kids, 6 that live with me, I could see it as a witch hunt. If you're going to burn somebody, that's probably fair enough to burn them.
Sure.
100%, I agree with that sentiment, but it's like, don't rant and rave on Discord. Just go online and then go do your witch hunt. There's plenty around you. Why are you here ranting and raving?
Well, I've got no issue with him
Hey,
ranting
you
and
know
raving
what?
about it on the right forum, but to come here and do it, it's like, okay, nobody here, not one person's going to not share the same disdain you have if you're going to air your disdain in that regard. But when you've
So it started off with the Bible verse.
Started off with a what?
It started off with the Bible verse about love thy neighbor. Just stupid people who take the Bible literal. So,
Well,
That is
the
literal.
thing is, I
Hold on,
still
hold on, hold
love
on.
them as people.
But that is literal. How else can you take that? That's not figurative or a metaphor. That is very much a literal statement. I don't know. Maybe you can expand on what you mean, but when you say that's idiots taking it literally, because you can't take that anything
well, my
other than
question
literally.
about the Bible is how am I going to discern what's literal, what's an allegory, what's parable?
Because it says so. Because it tells you explicitly.
After every sentence, are they highlighted or what?
Yeah. It's very clear if you read it whether or not there's something that's being used as an example, or something that's being used as an allegory, or something that's being used contextually differently to how you would accept it in the normal use of the language. It's always made really clear. So you take the literal bits literally, the metaphorical bits metaphorically. That's how I've always understood it. And when I spoke to Paula, Bible literalist, that was exactly what she said. She's like, it says, just read the whole verse. Does it contextualize it as being an allegory? No. Well, why would you take it as being an allegory then? But just stick to this one, Gene. Right. If you just say that statement, love thy neighbor, that's pretty conclusive in terms of what it means.
Well, what I was going to say about that is I can make that statement about thinking that's what you should do to them and still love them. And my reasoning behind it be born out of love of humanity.
How did we get here? I thought we were on the mathematical philosopher.
Yeah, I kind of got bored of it because he started explaining how dimensions work, and he was about to go through the whole, probably about an 8-minute skit of, if you take one dimension, you've just got a point. If you've got 2 dimensions, then you've got a piece of paper. Now, if you fold 2 dimensions down to 1 dimension, you can imagine if you were the 2-dimensional person living in the 1 dimension. That's what it'll do, all the way up through 11 dimensions. And I was just like, I'm sick of this now. So 6 minutes in, we've heard enough of his nonsense as far as I'm concerned to conclude.
Do you know
the
if there's
video
any truth to the there's some Bible verse, I don't know where it would be, about wearing 2 types of linen, that it's a sin?
Well, it depends on the linen. What's the linen?
Yeah, I think that's a Levitical thing about you're not supposed to mix threads together. You're not supposed to wear 2 different types of cloth.
No polyester or cotton.
Get it in context.
Is that a metaphor?
We don't know. The Bible isn't clear.
It's pretty clear.
I'm pretty sure it will be if you read all of it. I don't know that example to be able to pull it apart and say, no, that's metaphorical, because I haven't got the whole context, but I'm 99.9% certain if you read all of it, it would contextualize it. If it's a metaphor,
I
it'd
wonder
be
if they
obvious.
got anything. I wonder if they're got anything with polyester.
We got the gag the first time, but we don't know the context for your example in the literacy of the Bible to be making sense yet. Now, none of us are looking it up, and you're giving us a verse, but I wouldn't probably look it up either way. But in my experience, everything that you can go to in the Bible has context wrapped around it, and it's quite clear and specific. In terms of metaphor, it will lay out that it's a metaphor.
What's he arguing? What's the argument? Is he going? Is he talking about
Love thy neighbor,
or questioning whether that was a metaphor,
Yeah.
or sort of backhand sliding?
I don't
if
know.
he was backhand sliding, then I'll just ask him, "Are you Jewish?"
Was that my audio? Is that to me? My audio cut out.
Exactly my point.
Are you Jewish? What does that mean? I don't understand the context of that either.
Explain to him, Jewish.
Shalom.
Who is
The
he asking me?
Levitical law.
I don't know. Neil's decided to pipe up. I don't know why. Go on, Neil.
It is the Levitical law. It has something to do with us.
Right. Yeah. It's Leviticus 19:19.
Leviticus 19:19. Just found it right now.
In Deuteronomy 22:11, prohibit wearing wool and linen fabrics in one garment, the blending of different species of animals, and the planting together of different kinds of seeds, collectively known as kilayim, whatever that is.
Sounds like it's literal to me.
Yeah, sounds pretty straightforward. And it doesn't say anything about polyester. It says wool and linen. So I think you're good if you're wearing poly, bro.
I wonder if that has to do with hybridization, because if you do plant certain plants too close together, it'll affect how they grow.
Yeah, but how does that...
You just hit me with a little condemnation there, man.
Okay.
We're off the rails.
Yeah, totally. Beer Pete's covering that mathematical nonsense.
No, that one hits my heart particularly because of the fresh grown flowers, you know, with the reference to cannabis. And like right now in the cannabis world, everything is a hybrid. There's no more true original land races. They've crossed it and bred it with everything, you know, to create these specific genetics for them to release on the market. So everything is just hybridization of everything else. It's like fourth and fifth generation of what was originally here on the earth. So yeah, that one kind of hit my heart. That's all I was saying.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
More interesting than a mathematical philosopher with a calculator?
GM foods are pretty interesting. Well, there's nothing more to cover on him. What else is there to cover? If I pick a random spot.
Or we could change the laws of physics. But completely different mathematical structures are possible too.
See? They picked a random point, and the first thing he says is, we can change the laws of physics. Right? That's his opener. It's going to be the same thing over and over again. Him saying that maths is reality, maths is reality, maths is reality. That's all he's doing.
What he thinks he can just change natural law now?
What he just said. Maths is reality, Arwin.
No, he doesn't know the laws of physics.
No, he doesn't. But we've exposed all of that. That was enough to cover. It was a good video, though. I think that was well worth covering in a live show. He was 10th man's choice. He's not here now.
Yeah, you don't want to pick on him too much, or he'll start getting like sympathy arguers who people want a white knight for him.
Yep.
Nathan, one question I wanted to ask: have you ever done like a rebuttal? Because some people have actually rebutted videoed you, haven't they? Have you ever gone back and looked at what they've said?
Yeah, and then covered it based on the opinion. So, for instance, Dave McKeegan did a response, and then a couple of the panel members gave me a summary of what his response consisted of, and I responded to them summarising it. But in terms of
It wasn't
YouTube
even worth
etiquette,
it.
it's not really the done thing. You don't respond to a response. I mean, you can talk about it, but to go, it's got to be something exceptional to go back and respond to a response. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Dave McKeegan one was the latest one, and I summarized to Nathan. I don't think it was worth it.
Yeah, it was just a video of him snatching his own wig off. Like, so it gets into the realm of
He
bullying,
could go
kind
off
of.
technicalities or something like that. I don't know.
We can cover it if you want to.
I hate those videos. They're way too confusing.
Responses to responses get confusing, so that's why I don't want to do it. Yeah, if someone can summarize it nicely, I'll cover it, as in respond to what they've summarized it with. But if you try covering their video, you're pausing, them pausing, you pausing them, and it's too confusing.
That's way too messy.
Yeah, now I understand.
I hope Astro Kobe replies.
Yeah, that's the ideal, you know, because essentially they've put out a video and then I have responded to their video and then you would hope they would comment on it. That's the ideal. But going back and forth indefinitely, no, that's not a good idea. But because his initial, the ones that we're responding to, for instance, today's video, is not about me. So this is the first, it's our proactive attack on them, if you like, because we're responding to their claims in their video. So that does warrant a response. Now, how many we'll get, I said earlier or last week, it's the rule of 10, right? So by the time we get to 10, there's a reasonable chance that one of them will have looked at it. And by the time we get to 100, maybe one of them will make a response. I would suggest that that was about the number when Dave McKeegan made a response, but that's just luck.
And 1 in 10,000, you'll have somebody who actually concedes that they were wrong.
Yeah.
Was
Probably longer odds than that, but yeah, you've got the general gist. Out of 100 responses, one of them might concede an error. Which means that, yeah, that's about 10,000 response videos from me to get to that stage. Drop in the ocean, tiny number. 1,000 miles an hour, slow.
I would like to see somebody like Neil deGrasse Tyson take not necessarily one of our response videos, but like a QE video where he's explaining things, you know, he does his presentations. I would like Neil deGrasse Tyson to take that and try to respond to it. That would be hilarious.
As long as he put a link to QE's original video, I'd be happy. If he just made a response to QE's video, I'd be fuming. It's like, okay, so you're covering this material and you're not going to put a link to his video. So it benefits hardly any. A little bit of recognition of what quantum eraser might be, if you're vaguely interested. With no link from the respondent, it's not worth anything for us. Now, for most people, they don't care. They're like, as an extra bonus, I might grow a little bit more than I would normally. But for us, it's like, no, that's the be-all and end-all, unfortunately. We get no promotion whatsoever. So, you know, if you're going to find us, it's because the person that has taken their time to respond to our criticisms of their claims, it's down to them to put a link in. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing at the moment, going, you know, here's a link to their video, go and say hi, tell them I sent you.
You know what a good question for Neil deGrasse Tyson would be? Like, hey, Neil, can the horizon be refracted? That will be a good question for him. Because what is he going to do with that, you know?
Well,
I could give you his response.
I think I could too. Go on, John, you got there first.
Well, he's going to have to obfuscate the question quite a bit, because then he's going to ask a question back, and context what, right? Because it depends on what he's going to do with it. If he's trying to talk about how much should be obstructed of an object, it'll be a no. But if it's where the horizon appears, it'll be a yes. So he'll ask a further question to kind of lock you into a direction.
What?
Yeah,
but what you said is just the opposite.
It's a good question in terms of the theme. It's just it needs a refinement to the phraseology that locks him into his outcome. For instance, you could say something along the lines of, given that on a globe Earth, observations of things are always subject to terrestrial refraction, pause, how is it possible to measure the geometric tangent point horizon? Then
Yeah, but if you
lock him in.
ask it, that's a good way to say it more directly. But I was specifically like asking a more generalized question, so he doesn't automatically connect the whole flat Earth train of thinking to it, because then he might just answer. He might just say, "No, of course the horizon can't be refracted. It's an effect," right? He would do that. He would just say it like that.
No, I don't know. I would expect, given what he does, as much as we say things like, "Oh, he's not going to be interested in this," I disagree. So I often get the general sense, as much as this is me divining the thoughts of Tyson, that he is actually doing certain videos because of what we cover here. Now, I'm not suggesting it's us specifically, but some of the themes that get disseminated out into the flat Earth realm that do genuinely originate here. For instance, he recently did a video about tyre pressure. You were on the panel when we did that, Arwin? Well,
Okay, but has he ever addressed like the horizon and the claim that refraction can change its position in relation to the observer?
No, but what I was driving at was, given that he does respond to certain aspects of claims that we make here, specifically recently about tyre pressure, even though it was devoid of any connection to anything physically globe-related in his claim, you think, well, this just reeks of responding to us. Now, I'm pretty sure I poured pretty heavy scorn on Neil when he suggested that, but me suggesting it is perfectly reasonable, you know. But anyway, my point is, Arwin, that were he to come up against that sort of question, I would assume that he's at least had somebody or had discussion at some point about some of the questions that we do put out there, just in his general day-to-day life, you know, because of how prevalent flat Earth is. Some of that is going to filter down to him, because that's his specialist field. He'd be remiss if he didn't look at these sorts of things, wouldn't he?
No, you're right. I'm just wondering like how he would respond, because the only responses we ever got to like, oh, the horizon, is it refracted, would be to show us orthographic views and just go through that nonsense train of thinking again, right? But I don't see Neil doing that. He doesn't really do that sort of thing. He doesn't just roll out orthographic view diagrams all the time. He just explains it, right? So how would he explain it? Because you need an orthographic view trick to kind of change the briefcases, as you like to call it.
Yeah.
Right? You need that to confuse the situation.
If you didn't phrase it in any sort of flat earthy way, like you're suggesting it would come to, you're just like, well, is the horizon refracted? And he just gave his honest answer on the spot because he wasn't prepared for it. Now, I'm suggesting no, he would be prepared for it. He'd be remiss if he didn't do a bit of research and realise what his opponents are actually saying. But if it was just the case that you caught him off guard and he didn't realise that you were putting it to try and get a gotcha out of him, you would catch him in the Arwinian paradox, Arwin, I think, just by his first gut response to what is the horizon. Because I think most people, even Tyson, would lean onto their natural experience more than they would their rhetoric if you just asked them for a quick gut instinct response to a question like that. I think that's what you're hinting at, right? Would you just say...
Right, exactly. Just like, what's gravity? I don't know. Next question, right? Although that's even more, like, more thought out response, really.
But then
he does respond like that sometimes, you see?
But he did give an answer when he said in an Einsteinian way of thinking, right? So he's going to want to take it from a general question and try to pigeonhole it. And that's what he'll do.
Right, but how is he going to do that with this particular subject of the horizon and whether it's refracted in relation to the observer?
Right, that's what I just did. He would ask a question like, are you talking about objects in relation to the horizon, or are you talking about the horizon itself?
I'd say the horizon itself.
then he would say it's
The
refracted.
height where you see it.
If it is
The
well
angle.
researched, yeah, we got it. But both John and I are in agreement. Then, once he gets to categorize what the context of what you're viewing is, it's back to the Rumpus's statement. If you're viewing a target with respect to the horizon, then the question is about whether or not the target's refracted, right? So he's phrased it back to you, hypothetically speaking, in a way that allows him to refract the target with respect to the horizon as per the maths that you said. How's he going to put it in orthographic review? Well, he doesn't have to verbally if he can contextualize it after you ask the question. If you say, no, I'm just referring to the horizon, well, then of course it can be refracted, right? That's if he's well versed in the argument.
Yeah, but how, though?
Well, that's what I've already said. Once you've got him to admit one or the other, you can catch him in the paradox. The paradox came with your namesake attached to it for a reason, right?
The Arwinian paradox.
I get that, but I mean, I don't think that the Arwinian paradox is really going to hold ground really in the face of him, because he would just, I guess, get caught in it, but he would be able to just talk around it continually, and at the end, nobody would see why there's a problem, right?
Okay,
Unless I re-emphasize it.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm just really curious as to like,
well, you can only assess
if he has thought about it.
Okay, you can only assess whether or not he'd have a little shit the brain moment and spurt out something he shouldn't, or if it adheres to the actual rhetoric. Now, if he adheres to the actual rhetoric, then you have the Rumpus example in terms of where someone goes cognitively when you put them in that paradox, which is, we don't have a geometric horizon, we're never going to see it, but it's based on the geometric horizon, we do have a geometric horizon, we do. In other words, they have to take both positions. They have to contradict themselves. Once you've caught them in that, once you've asked them the question at all, if they've got even a good understanding of it, they might try, like Rumpus did, to put enough distance between having the geometric horizon for a basis of the maths itself to not being able to ever see it. But the horizon we do see being based on it, so it must exist, even though we don't see it. They can go around in that circle indefinitely if they're skilled enough.
Yeah, but that's
right. How are you going to measure? Like, how are you going to measure the radius value if the horizon is refracted? And because you need that radius value even to be able to figure out what's visually going on.
Because we do have a geometric horizon. We do.
Yeah, but you can't measure it in order to figure out what terrestrial refraction, how it works.
Yeah, we only have a geometric horizon in the mathematics.
Yeah, but how did you get it, though?
We measured it. Al-Biruni went up a mountain and measured it.
Ah, but you can't, because it's refracted. So he would have been off.
He was within. He was.
No.
He was within 5% of the actual radius.
Oh God!
No. Owen, that's bonkers, mate. Doesn't matter whether the Arwinian paradox kicks in here. You're not measuring anything. You're making an assumption of a measurement, but you're not measuring anything in terms of what you're going to do the calculation on. The math describes reification of the leading edge of a ball is the horizon. It's not. So whatever you've measured, you haven't measured anything. You've took a reading to something and interpreted it as something in physicality.
Yeah, but that's what actually happens. Of course,
but to be reasonable to Al-Biruni, he didn't appreciate refraction. He went very high up the mountain, and he was slightly off by 5%.
Yeah, but is 5% even enough to account for some of the deviations that have been perceived that we call
I love it. Owen's fell for it.
Already missed that.
Because if you're like 1 foot above the sea for that distance, then it's going to be a little bit more off than 5%.
No. You missed
even if he was 7% off. 7% off what?
No. The measurement he got was 5% off the one where they measured it at the geometric horizon, Adam. But that was 7% off the actual measurement. Owen doesn't notice that we're kicking the can down the road. Just see how long we can do this.
Am. But I want to dig deeper. I want to go Riley on you with this. So it's just what it presupposed. Yeah, but at 1 foot observation height, right? You're looking over the water at a vast distance, kilometers. That's a little bit more off in like the position of where the geometric horizon would be because of refraction than 5 or 7%. That's like 50, 70% off.
Okay, let me just explain.
Right?
Right. How much it's off, yeah, with or without refraction is your response as a flat earther. Okay, it's irrelevant because I've kicked the can down the road. I've said that it's off compared to what? Where do you get the measurement at all to say it's 5% off from that measurement? You see what I'm doing? I'm saying it's 5% off
from
the actual
the
measurement.
assumed model. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it only
math.
exists in the maths. There is no way of, as Adam's just pointed out, there's no way of actually getting any measurement. And when they say it's 5% off what? Where's the measurement? Well, there isn't one. So how can it be 5% off it?
Okay, but that would be a very tough for me personally. Maybe you could do a lot better to basically get that on the spot recognized by him and the audience.
Is it just like the atheists, where there's a creator, that they keep moving the creator somewhere else?
Yes.
They never come to the point.
Yeah, that's what QE calls kicking the can down the road. So you say, well, okay, so you're saying we were created by the aliens out on the other planets. Yeah. So you don't need a god. The aliens created us. I see. And the aliens were from where? Mars. Okay. So who created the aliens on Mars? Well, the aliens on Mars, they evolved. But where did the first bit of life come from? Well, from aliens on Venus. Okay. So you don't need a god because there was aliens on Venus. So that's why there's no god, because the original creators were the creators that were on Venus that created the ones on Mars that created us. So you can just keep on going like that forever. So it was 5% off the measurement of Earth. Well, where'd you get the measurement from? The horizon. Okay, but the horizon's refracted. Yeah, that's why it's off by 5%. Well, off what? Where was the original measurement?
Right, off what you didn't measure it, you're assuming that it is there and that's why it's off, but you didn't actually get to measure the original thing that you assume it is off from.
Yeah, we did. We
Little
did measure
convoluted.
it. I won't mention when or where or how, but Al-Biruni's measurement was within 5% of it. And were you to ask me where that measurement comes from, I'll give you another calculation. Describe how that was very close to the actual radius also. And I can go on like that forever.
Right. Where was the original data for the geometric horizon measure?
The geometric horizon only exists in the maths, end quote, the rumpus. That's where it ends.
Right. I don't think you'll get Neil deGrasse Tyson saying that, though.
That concession is Earth curve only exists in maths. That's what that means. Which is true.
It's not a complete statement.
Has Neil ever said that, though?
Why do you want Neil
Rumpus
to say
has.
it? You're going to make Neil your bitch? Is that what this is all about?
I don't know. Maybe.
Why is it an incomplete statement then, John?
Well, the geometric horizon only exists in math below surface level.
Yeah, below their surface level in their maths. Correct. That's the most devastating point, really, isn't it? If they're talking about the differential or the tangent point or Earth curve, it's existent below the establishment of surface level, transposable to the equatorial plane at the centre or having a celestial sphere wrapped around it. But that's surface level, isn't it? And any assertions of a geometric limitation, Earth curve edge refracted or otherwise, take place below surface level.
Right. The entire globe Earth actually exists beneath the flat plane that we stand upon.
That's right. When we were joking about it being Dingleberry Earth, it wasn't. That was something that was right in front of our faces the whole time. If you've got a tangent plane that's being used, or a horizontal plane of an existence that's described as an equatorial plane transposed to the middle, as described earlier, then you've got a horizontal plane, you've got ground level, and you're establishing it to navigate or measure or derive latitude lines, all the things that we do on the ground. Right, that's your ground level. Well, where's the globe? Well, it's underneath as a dingleberry. Well, where's the surface of the globe? Below the surface level, dangling down like a dingleberry existent only in the maths. So in the most literal way, when we were describing Dingleberry Earth, we're describing the surface of the globe Earth existing below the surface level that we actually deal with. Isn't it insane?
Yeah, it's like they sculpted out of the flat Earth.
Like
They just-
Sheol, it's like
in
hell.
their mind, mathematically, they cut out the globe there, out of the dirt underneath our feet.
But it parallels with a description of hell.
It does, yeah.
Isn't that freaky?
Does.
Isn't that weird? The globe model exists below the surface level. The ground that you believe in your mind you're walking around exists below the surface level in mathematics only, in a reification fantasy only. But your existence on that surface, in your mind, is actually below, underneath the actual surface level that we exist upon. That's nuts. The whole world thinks they're existing below surface level in their maths. It's bonkers.
But you can still see it. It's all just bent upwards. I mean, how far would you have to be flexible in your mind to go and believe a globe? I wonder about this even for myself, when I was like 12 and all that. It's like, how did I ever get as far as to be convinced that everything looks flat because it's being refracted into an apparent flat plate? It's actually a globe. How did I ever let that slip past and accept it? I don't understand that now.
You can never refract the tangent point they claim into a straight line. That can't happen. The tangent point will always be below surface level. There's no amount of refraction or bendy lines you can apply.
Pardon me, John, Aaron, and Nathan. I had a question in regard to the mathematics, which, all of this mathematics stuff is something I've learned since I've been hanging out with you guys. 3959, 24,000 plus miles circumference, yada, yada. I was always wondering, who determined that. Did they go from point A back to point A on the 30th, 40th? Which parallel did they do it on to go, say, from planes, trains, automobiles, and by boat, go from, say, DC around the sphere back to DC to determine the circumference? And did they go from one edge of the ball to the other? I mean, how do they determine this tangibly and realistically, other than, like y'all are saying, the mathematics is something somebody pulled out from between their legs and said, this is what I believe it is. We're going to base the math on that. And if so, 24,000 plus miles of circumference with a radius of 3959, that's about a little bit under 4,000 miles. That's broken down in six quadrants. Yeah, there you go. That's six quadrants. Because 4 times 6 is 24, if I'm not correct. So 3959 times 8 or 7, or around that number, would be the 24 plus. That's too small. If you think about the mathematics, it makes no sense. If you measure something at 12 inches circumference, and then you say the radius of that thing is 25, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Didn't Brian make a video about this?
I don't know, but that's me being the layman. I always thought, like, as I'm learning this, the mathematics that they have doesn't work with a realistic, tangible ideology. Even if you try to convince somebody that's strong on the sphere, they would be like, if they know math, they'll be like, that shit don't make no sense.
Well, to them, it mostly just has to be close enough to be convincing to people that aren't really into math. That's the real thing.
They can't.
It just has to be close enough for people to buy it.
But you have to be a math failure to not understand that 3959 is not half of or even a quarter of 24,000 plus miles.
What are you talking about?
And if you're breaking down, it down a bit.
You're talking about radius versus circumference.
Right. I'm saying if circumference is 24,000 miles plus 24, whatever the number, 24, 100 and something, and you're looking at radius, or you're looking at diameter, whatever it is. I mean, it mathematically doesn't fit right as a whole. A whole is 24,000.
I think what he's saying is it doesn't make any sense that the value's so small. In other words, 3959 is tiny.
It does. I'll tell you why. Like when I made my kitchen into a sphere, 74 inches was the radius of my kitchen when I misapplied the mathematical principles. Because you're talking about total surface area, right? When you're talking about circumference, not the shortest line from the center to the circumference. So that's the difference.
Okay, the center to the circumference. Okay, so the center to the most outer edge.
Yeah, radius.
If you break it down in 4. Right. It just doesn't make any sense. Mathematically, calculating it, it doesn't make any sense.
It does.
If anything, it should be. It does?
It does make perfect sense. That's how it's made. That's, the one is not dependent, but intrinsic to the other. The radius and the circumference are directly related. But unless you're saying, if you said to next man, well, from here to the centre of Earth is only 39.59 miles, then most people go, wow, that doesn't sound like very far.
So this measurement is going to the core, the so-called multi-core.
Yes, from the surface level to the centre of the presupposed spherical Earth.
Okay.
And it's a tiny amount. And it's only because of the back engineering of the minimum angles to Polaris that you end up with such a value. So the equatorial value has to measure the same as that minimum to Polaris. That gives you your outside edge. And then you've got a fixed radius at that point. It can't be any other value.
Right? Geometry has consequences, right? If you assume certain geometries, it has geometric consequences, and you can't escape those numerical values that come with it.
Right. And the maps and models are going to be used for navigation, so you have to have it work and function with the original origin of the measurement to give you the map or model. So if you're using the stars and a celestial sphere to create the model, it must function with those. Therefore, when you back engineer it into a globe, you convert it via haversine, and then you project that out onto a cylinder, and then roll it back out onto a square map, you've got a nice convoluted trail that confuses people when they think, why is the map flat? Well, because it's come from a globe projection. Well, what's a globe projection? Well, it's a globe that's got all the points projected out onto a cylinder and then rolled out flat. Meaningless, because it matters not, so long as the latitude lines match up with the points on the ground that are relevant to the minimum distances to Polaris, because that's where the measurement came from. So long as that line, the latitude line, matches where it's referenced the star it was measured with on the map will work. It doesn't matter that all the land masses underneath are completely distorted, because when you're referencing the lights in the sky positionally, does it matter that the land's distorted? So long as it matches on the grid. And the grid came from the lights in the sky and the angles to them. Therefore, it has to work on a flat Earth. And the globe, regardless of how it's developed or regardless of how you believe the world's functioning, the lines on that model also came from the same angle measurements to the stars. It'll still match up and work.
So this ideology is like to take an orange and slice it in half and use that surface.
Not exactly. It's the orange cut in half would be the celestial sphere. So with you at the centre of it and the orange over the top of you. So you've got a flat surface for your baseline, and then as the stars are moving across your position, at some point the star will be above your head.
Right. Yeah.
Right, and then you
it's a sphere versus a flat plane, and that creates the whole thing. That's your coordination system.
Well, with the
Orange, so as an example.
Who's our new guest? Mr. Salash. Who's that?
Hey, Salah, Mo Salah.
Mo Salah.
It's bloody Riley, isn't it then? It's Mo Salah.
Salah.
Hey, Anthony.
I've only come in to sing.
No, that's not how it goes. It goes, Mo Salah, Salah, whatever will be.
So for those that are not familiar with what I'm talking about, Liverpool beat Manchester United 7-0 on Sunday yesterday. I mean, that's like the highest scoring game that Liverpool have beat United in their history. They got absolutely battered. It was fantastic.
It was sad to watch that.
Do you know what? I've not watched Liverpool all season because it's been a shambles, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, hello.
Was it home or away?
Anfield.
It was at Anfield.
Home.
Okay.
Home, yeah.
This takes the mick. He wouldn't even talk to me about football for 3 months since we beat Liverpool. And now he gets the result and he's back in the game.
It's so true. Honestly, I've had zero interest in football this season. And like Adam says, Notts Forest beat us. Like Adam's there singing like a canary.
You're like a gold digger, but with fandom and football.
Oh yeah, we can't call it Notts Forest because it's too close to Notts County, right?
Well, because there's no such team. Nottingham Forest.
Oh, well, that means we've got to say Manchester United and Liverpool Football Club.
The reason you call it Notts Forest...
Did Liverpool's beat Manchester United's? Did they?
There's a reason they call it Notts Forest, right? And it's for the pools. Remember the pools? So when they used to read out the results...
No, it's bollocks. It's because you're all ignorant and uneducated.
No,
None of you have ever read it, yeah? And it's a typo. It's Nottingham Forest or Nottinghamshire County. Notts County. There's no S in Nottingham.
Yeah, but,
it's just
but in the
mostly
polls
those
results,
from the northeast.
On the spreadsheet that they read out from the TV results, the box that they had for the team was always just that little bit too small, and it was always written as Notts Forest. That's what it was called when the caller called it out for the polls results. Notts Forest, and then
No, he didn't. It's Nottingham Forest 1, Liverpool 0.
I remember
It's always
Notts
been
Forest.
Nottingham. It's only lazy people, pundits, and the general public that refer to it as that.
But basically
it's one
everyone.
of the things that grinds my gears.
But basically
Now,
everyone
can I just
except
point
you.
out, this is like a baller tactic because my point was that Liverpool won 7-0, but somehow that point's been totally lost now, and we're arguing over the pronunciation.
But didn't Notts Forest beat Liverpool?
Yeah, Notts Forest did beat Liverpool.
You
yeah.
burn in hell. You die, you go to hell, you die.
I know it's sacrilege. It's like when people from Manchester don't like being called, like people from Salford don't like being said that they're from Manchester because it's a city within a city. Like in the same way, like there's an egg yolk inside the egg. Salford is a city within its own right, within the city, which is nuts. But they don't like it when you say, "Oh, part of Manchester." And like, no. It's like, yeah, it is. It's like saying that the egg yolk's not part of the egg. It's like, it's the yolk on its own in its own right. Yeah, but it's still part of the egg, though, isn't it? No. We've got our own nucleus that the egg sits in. But yeah, it's still part of the egg.
Did you guys see Train Spotting 2 yet?
Again, Neil.
No.
Oh, that's hysterical. You got to see it.
Train Spotting 1 was horrible. I mean, it was a good movie, but it just...
No, this one is good because they're in a pub and they wind up they have to sing a song. Yeah.
Hey, Brian.
No, that's not Train Spotting.
Hey, Nathan.
I think you're mixing that up, Neil. It's not Train Spotting.
Train Spotting 2. You know what I'm talking about? Seen it. When they get older. Watch
Okay.
it. You'll like it.
They don't live. There's only one of them that lives.
There is a part 2, though.
No, there's a part 2. There's more than one. You talking about part 2? They're all alive.
Are you talking about The Hangover, Neil, or are you talking about Train Spotting?
Train Spotting 2. Trust me. Go look it up. You'll like it. I thought it was better than the first one.
So when the Train Spotting 1 that you're talking about, is that the one where they walk in and there's a dead baby, so they decide to do some more heroin?
Yes.
No, they woke up to a dead baby and they did more heroin. And she wanted the first shot.
And so the second one is funny.
I mean,
Just watch it.
the first one's got a very amusing toxoplasmosis story.
He comes back after he robbed them, and he wants to pay them back, basically. And his best friend. You gotta watch it. It's really good. They wind up in a pub robbing credit cards, but they have to sing a song to get out. And it was a song that they just made up on the spot, and they just kept saying, and all the Catholics are dead, and they were cheering like maniacs.
Sounds terrible.
It does sound horrible. The first movie was pretty good. It was just horrible.
Anyway, about that football match. Did anybody see it? Anybody not see it, rather? Because they're like, honest to God, 7-0 is the highest scoring game against Man United, and it's like, it's just brilliant. It's delicious.
Nah, I don't think anyone saw it.
40 minutes, I went down for my tea. Yeah. Had my tea, came back, it's 6-0. All I got to see was the 7th goal.
Oh, I didn't even know it was on. I've switched off from football this season completely because we're a shambles.
That's the
And it's
second worst scenario in football viewing. So that's the second worst. The worst is when you've watched a really boring game and let's say it's your team, you're watching a home game and they're 1-0 down for about 86 minutes of the game. And you go, sod this, I'm going home. So you bugger off because you don't want to get caught in the crowds leaving, right? And then the home side, your team, scores 3 goals in the last 3 minutes after you've buggered off. That's the worst possible scenario.
Do you remember when Liverpool were 3-0 down against AC Milan in 2005 in the cup final? And like most of the stadium started emptying because they were getting battered. And then Liverpool came out second half and basically won it on penalties. But most people were like you. They got to 3-0 down at half time and left. I think I'd have gone as well, to be honest. I'd have been fuming. But yeah, what a mistake that would have been if he'd have left.
Well, clearly this flat earth discussion's died on its ass.
I don't think you can play it. Hold on. I don't think you can hear I don't think you can watch it. But I shared it in Mass D, the No More Catholic scene, the bar scene. And it's hysterical if you want to watch it later.
This is Train Spotting 2.
Correct.
I don't know who in their right mind decided that this was a good movie to make a sequel.
That's what I'm saying.
Nathan, I'm telling you, give it a shot. Well, I thought the same thing. You watch it, it's
we
good.
were bereft, but by the time that it was over, there were no more Catholics left.
Oh, this is awful. This is dire.
You gotta let it play out. It's because
No.
of where they are, the region they're in.
Yeah, which we're not going to get because we haven't watched the entire movie.
Yeah, that total
You'll
cash
get it.
grab. That's what that was.
Oh,
You and
suck.
McGregor, you should be ashamed. What a total cash grab.
That is a
That's
hysterical
exactly
scene.
what it was.
It wasn't a cash grab. Watch the freaking. Hold on. What is that called? When you pass judgment on something before you even reviewed it?
But when you have a self-contained story of redemption, why are you making a sequel?
Because he robbed them at the end and he wants to make good for it. His wife, watch the movie and then judge it.
There's very few movies that live up to their original. Like Aliens is like the exception to the rule because they changed the genre.
Godfather 2.
Again, an exception to the rule.
Empire Strikes Back.
Exception to the rule.
You beat me to it, Adam.
Karate Kid.
But for Karate Kid, what?
That is an
Karate
epic film. What are you
Kid.
talking about?
I hated the sequel to Karate Kid.
Oh,
I agree. I hated it.
See, immediately
I like
now
the new
we're into
series.
we're into the bad sequels. Not a perfect segue from Anthony.
I thought the best example of a bad sequel was Back to the Future. I mean, Back to the Future 2 wasn't too bad, but that third one was awful in the Wild Wild West one. That was just rubbish.
You know
No,
they
it
were
wasn't.
filmed simultaneously, right?
They were all filmed together.
No, the second and the third were filmed together.
Right. That's what I mean.
I didn't catch what your rebuttal was, Nathan. Say that again.
Just that you were saying the third was worse than the second, but I know they're obviously released one after the next, but the two were filmed at exactly the same time.
I didn't actually know that.
In terms of continuity and everything, it's absolutely spot on. I actually think the Back to the Future movies are really good, but in terms of knowing what you're going to be facing 20 years down the line, you know, I'm not getting all Russian vids on you and stuff, but when people go back retrospectively and look at stuff that's been propagandized into the masses of the people in the 80s, and then you look at what we have currently in terms of technology and laws and rules and the current type of propaganda, you can see it all throughout the movies and general TV, pop culture, all that sort of stuff back then. So by that standard, and that's been a standard for a long time, in terms of softening people up to whatever they want to introduce further down the line, you can infer what is coming further down the line when you look at current stuff on TV. So I mentioned on the pre-show that when my washing machine crapped the bed and flooded our kitchen, or I wasn't necessarily, I was watching stuff about computers, but while I was watching stuff about computers, my wife was watching Stranger Things. Have you guys heard of this show or watched this show?
Nope.
Yeah.
Yes, it's pretty good.
Watch the whole thing, yeah.
Okay, so it's dealing with a parallel dimension, isn't it? You know, a notion that we're reacting to in terms of the mathematical descriptions that are being used in a way that perhaps people 100 years ago weren't doing with Einstein. They're not necessarily picking apart the paradigm based on the maths that it's based on. They're just being fed the notions in terms of how that is physical reality in a much more dumbed down way. Well, the same thing applies now when we have so much propaganda about multi-dimensional stuff. We talked about what's the space one with the guy looking back at his family at the end. I always forget the name of this movie.
Interstellar.
Right. Those notions and concepts that have come out of a brief history of time and Einsteinian fourth dimensions, they're all just expansions. Same goes for string theory. Theory. But you know what I'm getting at? Those notions are being propagandized into the masses right now, aren't they? So I can very easily envisage a world that does transition from being a globe world in a flat universe to just being a flat world with parallel dimensions.
Yeah, but hold on. I mean, Stranger Things is not about that. It literally isn't. It is about what they do is a sort of a reification, a bridge between the spiritual dream world, because that's what it's about. It's rooted in MK Ultra very blatantly, and then they basically break the barriers, and that's how they make it into a literal other dimension. But there's no mention of Einstein. Maybe some of the nerds talk about that with their suspicion, but that's not really what's going on there, obviously.
Another dimension. Which dimension? We got length, width, depth.
No, not in that sense.
Stranger Things is based on true events and true stories.
So not true story.
I've experienced the dark world myself, okay? It has nothing to do with pseudo-Riemannian force space.
Yeah, it does. It's broken down in exposition. They have a teacher in the first series, explaining to the 4 main children characters, or 3 at the time, I think it is, how to get to the upside down. And he describes it almost identically to how we get described third-dimensional understandings folding into 2-dimensional realities. And he does it with a tightrope walker and a flea, and explaining how the flea can walk on the underside of the rope. That's how he does it in that example. And it's the quote-unquote physics teacher from the high school that's doing it.
Right, I remember that scene. Yeah, I guess that the teacher does explain it that way, but I mean, it's nothing but an explanation. It's not actually involved in, like, the engineering or anything, right? It's just their speculation about it to try to get their head around, like, oh, there's another dimension. It's not part of the actual technical situation, if you look at it carefully. Right? They don't have like a time machine or something, or there's no technology doing that. It's all through psionics, through her and what she does.
I'd like to just add in that it's Millie Bobby Brown in Stranger Things is a flat earther. So
she was caught on camera saying that, yeah. don't know if she's actually a flat earther or if she just wanted some attention.
What do you mean when you say dimension in this context, Arlen? What are you talking about?
Another form of existing.
A real form or a conceptual form or
a form that you can experience.
Is that better described as realm or dimension?
It's just a word. Like
if it's a world that you can experience, does that mean it's real?
Yeah. Or you don't think your dream world is real? That place is nothing there exists?
No, I'm able to distinguish my dream world from real world.
Right.
How is that any different? Hold on, Arwen. Right. If I take you to a place conceptually, okay, Narnia. So I invent a world and describe it to you and get you to imagine being there. Yeah. Does that make the place real?
No, not in a literal sense, but it makes that experience.
Let me lead you. So if that's the case in terms of your imagination, how can you transpose reality in any way onto a dream when I can describe it in terms of an imagination? There's no literal difference in terms of how much physicality one's got ascribable to it.
Right. Well, maybe imagination takes place in its own realm.
Like the maths, the maths from the guy in the video earlier.
It was just an attempt to make people or the kids understand that, hey, there could be something more. And he thought that the route of actual physics dimension through Einstein theorizing would be a good way to explain that.
Well, that's how he used it as a segue. He's got the fourth dimensional Einsteinian physics, which they're not,
right,
to compare to. Well, yeah, but that doesn't give us
an extra dimension. But it isn't actually the situation, is my point. It's just his way of describing that to them.
Yeah, but you were arguing
and tap into people, right? People, audience that have looked into that, and yeah, that is inspiring. It's like, oh wow, something like Einstein in other dimension, right? Doesn't have to technically be the real thing that's going on, but it will be a talking point for people.
That's a total U-turn by you then. Okay.
No, not really. That was my point at the start.
You're ascribing physicality to it and trying to justify how physical it is, and now you're saying the fact that you can describe it in that term or use it as a comparison with Einsteinian fourth dimensions is fine, but it doesn't make it reality. Well, that's a total U-turn. That's why I jumped in. But anyway.
In the movie. We're talking about in the movie.
Yeah, but
in actual reality, I have an experience. But
I realise, Arwen, I realise, but I'm trying to draw a comparison to how propagandized certain information was back in the days of Back to the Future, and how some of those concepts are now very much taught to kids in terms of the concepts, right? And we've got a comparison with multi-dimensional garbage that comes out in movies and on pop culture, and how that's ascribed to being an actual physical reality. And then that's been taken into how the upside down is comparable to the dream world and how it could actually be reality, until you say, no, it's a way of comparing it to Einsteinian dimensions that aren't. Well, that, like I say, is a bit of a U-turn, but there we go.
I would actually argue that Arwen's making your point for you, Nathan.
Yeah, I kind of was. So
well, maybe
I think
missed
we're both
that then.
right.
Fine. Either way.
My point, sorry. So never mind.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
My point was that in the series, it's not about pseudo-Ramonian force space. There are other series and movies that very much do that. And then there's often some kind of a device, technology that does something. And then it is assumed as part of the movie lore that that is the thing that's happening, that's doing it, right? In here, it isn't. It's not really involved. They don't get all science-y on it, ever. It was just an attempt to try to figure out and explain what was going on so they would get a grasp on it. That's all.
And that's all Einstein was trying to do too, man. Don't be hard on him.
That's true.
Good point.
It's an interesting path. If you look
Speaking
at the
of
dream
Einstein,
world, sorry, go ahead, Kiwi.
No, you go ahead. Fresh grown flowers.
Well, I was gonna say it's kind of interesting. In the dream world, you're not physically there, but you can visualize where you're at, right? But
It's like a
let's go to the
holodeck.
physical reality. Let's go to the reality of a blind person who's physically there, but they can't see what's around them,
No, no,
and they
no,
have to
no.
go off the
No,
descriptions of. Go ahead.
but that's different because they still have imaging inside of their mind spatially, right? Your eyes are not the only senses you have to basically size up depth and location. There is another separate system in the brain that does that, and it does it with sound. It does it with all kinds of things. Blind
Convoluting
people still
dimensions
have
with senses.
some
It's
visualization.
frustrating,
come on,
Alien. Hold on,
Nathan.
stop a second. You're convoluting two different things. You're talking about dimensions, right? Inventing an extra one and then folding it back on in itself so you can create more, versus senses. You know, somebody being blind isn't altering their lack of experience or experience of a time dimension that doesn't exist, right? Being blind, that's a sense as opposed to a dimension.
Yes, I was just merely responding to what I think Dero said.
Fresh grown flowers.
Oh, yeah, sorry. About that blind people still have visualization. It's just not visualization based on sight. It's not filled in by the brain as sight, but they still basically probably see like a skeleton of energy or something, some kind of contrast, a thing that will help them understand what their surroundings is. But it will not be visual based.
No shit.
Well, that is what sight is, though, right?
It was elementary.
Visual based.
Well, they might have picturing in their head. It will just not be filled up with visual information as seeing people typically do with their imagination.
Am I ready?
Please.
Yeah. I was wondering if Mo Salah knew that Einstein's field equation is metric tensor. When you contract it, it creates a first order intrinsic differential invariant. And did he know that the inventors of tensor calculus disproved those first order intrinsic differential invariants do not exist?
Wow. Where did that come from? Because what did I
The
say
big,
at the
big
start? I don't even
contest.
remember what I said.
Again?
What did I say that sparked that response, John? I don't even remember what I said now. Is that long ago?
I heard your name, and I know that you're a gravity junkie, so I made the connection.
I am definitely not a gravity junkie. I'm anti-gravity.
Well, that lines up with your ideal.
Yeah, think about it. The what is it? The Ricci tensor. That's a first order tensor.
No, it's a second order tensor, but yeah, that's the metric tensor is what I was.
Oh yeah, sorry, you're right. My bad.
Are we in a parallel universe? Have I completely lost? What are we talking about here?
We're talking about how the general theory of relativity, along with special theory, is not only a scientific theory, we can kill it right there rather quickly, but the mathematics is just a jumbled concoction of meaningless drivel.
Yeah, I agree.
I just wanted to give you a little specific so you have some arrows in your coiffure.
Oh no, I'm with you because like we all know that maths is not reality, right? Even though Red's Rhetoric said it about 5 years ago, maths is reality. We all know that that's not actually true. Maths is not reality, like the guy said earlier. Show me -5 apples, right?
Yeah, but this is showing, we already know that math isn't reality, but it's showing right here that even Einstein's mathematics isn't mathematics. He just made it up. It's in fact, it contradicts those people that invented tensor calculus. Levi Saviti. That's 2 people, by the way.
Yeah, Stephen Crothers covered that, didn't he? The how the math was wrong.
Yep. not only wrong, it's meaningless. It's not even mathematics.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I could go one better.
You got one better than that. Go ahead.
Yeah, how do they fit 4 dimensions into a 3-dimensional Cartesian?
I don't know if it's better, but yeah.
You can't.
Exactly. You can't fit length, breadth, depth, and time into X, Y, and Z.
Time? How are you going to fit it in there anyway?
You can't, but even conceptually, you can't do it.
No,
There's an extra.
Yeah.
Well, what if you
can't conceptually fit it in there?
What if you take length, the X, Y, and Z, and turn it into one axis, and then you add another axis 90 degrees perpendicular to those 3 dimensions, and you call it time, and you make a graph of motion along it?
No, you fold the 3rd dimension into the first 2. We've covered this, right, with the guy that was called I think it was called the Nth Dimension, the channel name or something like that. It's just a process of taking your ideas of what a dot is and then progressing it up to a line and getting you to imagine that you're in an existence where you're only in 1 dimension. But then as you scale up to 2 and 3 dimensions, you can then scale those back to say, imagine you experiencing length, breadth, and depth is actually only you experiencing length and breadth. You can't imagine the 3rd dimension beyond what is only length and depth in a 2-dimensional reality, and then they show you a man like a playing card. Well, then when you scale it back up and you say, well, if you can imagine that there's a 3rd dimension beyond your 2-dimensional existence that you don't have, then you can imagine that there's a 4th dimension beyond your 3rd dimension existence that you just can't experience. So now you've got length and breadth potentially incorporated into 3 dimensions, but only being expressed on a graph with 2. So then you draw out your 3rd axes as time, and you've got 4 dimensions with 2 of the 3 in one axis and 1 of the other on the 3rd. And then they've got 4 dimensions that you're only seeing in 3 dimensions, but justified because you couldn't experience a 3rd dimension if you're a 2-dimensional playing card, and we as a 3-dimensional being can't experience a 4th-dimensional existence. That's how they explain it.
Totally acceptable, I think. You hit the nail on the head. Is that an agree, disagree statement, or is it just false?
Just false. Okay, looks like we're done with this show. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and Tubeless Panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming streams, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, smashing my GoFundMe link and supporting the cause, keeping the show sounding fantastic, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!